All right. Hit the like, everybody. We're about to get started. Man, it's been a roller coaster of a day. I'm not afraid to say it. All right. Yes. One more. Right. Chat room, there you are. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwide. I'm your host, Hal Sparks. The most Hal Sparks you will ever see. Hal Sparksing anywhere in your general vicinity. Please share the show out. Send some likes and some loves and some, it's the cheapest, freest thing you can do to support the show. And you can also subscribe to the podcast, Hal Sparks Podcast, Megaworldwide. I think the phrase is wherever you get your podcasts, which, quite frankly, is none of my business. I'm not gonna peek at you through the bushes while you're getting your podcasts on. I'm just not gonna do it. Even if I had a podcast called Peeking Through the Bushes, I wouldn't do it. But especially not now, you maniacs. You beloveds. Don't forget to Hal Sparks your way, Hal Sparks through this as you Hal Sparks while you're Hal Sparksing. Because I got to say, it's a good day to Hal Sparks in general. Now, what's Donnie and Mike's little secret? I think it's that he thinks he's going to be able to maintain the speakership and therefore not certify the election, no matter what happens. It won't matter. He's going to lose. That said, can we all agree? Let's just start right out of this. Can we all agree, ladies and germs, if I may, that one of the things they teach you in Dum Dum Law School, in How to Be a Legal Beagle for Dummies, or The Complete Idiot's Guide to Lawfare, one of the things you always hear, or if you've just watched, I don't know, 2 episodes of Boston Legal, or half an episode, the later half, of Law and Order at some point in your life, you probably know the old adage for attorneys: never ask a question you don't already know the answer to. When you're talking to a witness or someone on the stand and you're asking them a question, don't ask them the question unless you already know the answer. I suppose there's a softer addendum to this, which is don't ask them a question even if you don't know the answer, but no matter what answer they give, it helps your case. That would be the other thing. Even if they throw a total monkey wrench in, if they say something totally insane or they lie their ass off or they tell the truth, it benefits you, right? That would be if they are totally guilty and you know it and you're just, I don't know, you're batting them around like a cat with a fucking mouse, right? So, yeah, never ever ask a question you don't know the answer to with whatever they're going to say. The other thing too is, don't ask a question you know I think the bigger one. Don't ask a question you know the answer to. If they answer it, you're screwed. If they actually tell the truth, your case falls apart. I would avoid, I think, and I think many of you would, avoid that question entirely. Yes? Yes? They did say Jehovah. And that, ladies and germs, ladies and jinx, ladies and gentlemen, that takes us to Powder Springs, Georgia. Now, I gotta tell you, Powder Springs sounds like a joke you play on thirsty people. Powder Springs sounds like something you'd hear on Lake Wobegon. Made powder milk biscuits. Heavens, they're tasty. Made with real powdered spring water. Just add water. we go now. Join me, won't you? To NFAB. To NFAB. NFAB. That would be NFAB. You know, the Lord works in mysterious ways, especially when arranging for the national faith and brotherhood. Faith artists of bullshit. I don't know I can't see. I don't care, really. So this is from Donald Trump's own channel. And Donald Trump is at a faith and freedom leaders thing or whatever. And apparently they're having a real hard time, and I will get to that in a minute, getting Christians to vote. It's weird. One, they don't normally vote because they believe that their kingdom is beyond this world and what happens here is in God's hands, and the weather and the politics and stuff, that's somebody else's problem. Trust in Jesus and drive with your elbows. All right, so that's part of it all the time, apparently. Then the other half of it would be that they can't bring themselves, and I don't know why this is, but maybe some of you, maybe there's some maggots in the audience today, and I have no doubt because you guys help us in the algorithm more than any other single group. They have a hard time bringing themselves to vote for a rapist, as it were. Whether there's a P or a C in there, in the middle of their RA and the IST, they seem to have a bit of an issue with that. It's weird. It's almost like some of them might even take their faith seriously. I know that sounds nuts, but apparently it might be true. Now, so what's he got to do? Well, we saw him go to Madison Square Garden, an area he's not going to win at all, but he has no other chance than this to ever be in that venue again for the rest of his life, because this is it. This is it. Make no mistakes where you are. You're going no further. He knows this is it. He knows it's coming to an end. So he wanted to do the Madison Square Garden thing, check it off his bucket list, and then. And the other thing is that he's in Texas defending territory, or he's showing up at these Christian events trying to crack these Christians into getting them over the line. Now, if you're way ahead in the swing states and all that kind of stuff, can't you take this vote for granted? You're the most Jesus-y candidate that's ever happened. They all think the sun shines out of your ass. Your idea of supporting Israel is to let the most violent members of its leadership do whatever the fuck they want to the rest of the world. So I don't know why the fuck you'd even need to see these people. Don't you have them locked in? This is it. Make no mistake where you are. All right, so you're going out there. All right. Now, why did I bring up the whole question thing earlier? Why? Well, let me tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, never ask a question you don't already know the answer to in a legal setting, and don't do it in an interview either, unless you're trying to discover an untold thing. If you got a serial killer sitting across from you, you can ask a rando question to try and get him to accidentally blurt out where the bodies are. Shit like that. Cool. But don't give him never mind. We can go down that road forever. This lady, by the way, you might remember her as the jacking off Jesus lady from Trump's administration. She gave him a job. Now, you might not recognize her that much because she's had a lot of she's got a lot of the she went to Eric Bolling's person and got a bunch of and a lot of that's filler and Botox for those of you that don't speak imbecile. And she's very shellacked. I gotta say, She looks like someone stuck a straw in her ass and went, yeah, this is Paula White, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. This is the National Faith Advisory Board. Wouldn't that be what church is? Sorry. Okay. I'm here to advise you on your faith. This is, if you are a person of faith, this is kind of what it should be. Anyways, so she asks him a question, and we're only going to do 2 little bits of this because he just blathers on and tells his bullshit stories. But there's a couple of things I want to share with you. Also, I don't know what the filming is like on this one, so I just want to warn you up front, there may be some nunting. There might be some nunting. Look out for the nunting. Well, thanks for nunting. Yeah. Here's the question. You'll see what I mean.
How is faith formed in you, and what does it mean to you?
Okay. In case you missed that, how is faith formed in you, and what does it mean to you? Now, we all know the answer to that question is very simple. It isn't and nothing. That's the answer. That's the real answer. Now, but you guys know me. I love hearing some him trying to answer this shit. Oh, here we go.
Well, thank you very much, Paula. And you have been. I've known you for a long time, and she's a great person, a great woman, and really, it's an honor. It's an honor.
And fab crowds are the greatest fabs in the world. Hold for applause.
It really is, and she's a hard worker too. Boy, does she work.
Yeah, so she can't work smart, so I guess that's the alternative.
And, I advised her. She had some property, and she grew out of the churches. She got bigger. She was going wild in Florida. I met her, and she called and asked for advice. One of the churches, it was in the middle of nowhere, and she had big, the number of people going every Sunday. And she said, they've offered me money for this land. I can put it to very good use with all the people that need help. Should I sell? I said, you might as well sell. Take the money right now because it can change really quickly. And
Jesus Christ. Okay. Just in case you aren't following, she's selling a church space, like the land around her church, because it's in the middle of nowhere. She's got a lot of extra property she doesn't need for fucking parking. Whatever. Anyways, I can sell this and I can take the money. What do I do? And he's like, put it into real estate because fuck these idiots. That's what he saw, like actual buildings and apartment buildings. And he's starting to drive himself towards that answer and away from it. So he advised her on secular real estate deals. Just in case, this isn't important to the whole thing, but fuck him.
And she'll go a little bit further out, and she just kept doing that. I said, this is a great business. This is pretty good. But she put the money to great use, and you've helped so many people, and it's really great. And really nice to know you.
Thank you.
Really nice to know you. Thank you.
Okay. Did you guys get the answer about how faith is formed in his life and what it means to him? You guys got that, right? Oh, right on, Torchy. Voted today. Excellent.
Look, we're going through a lot of problems in our country. If you take a look at the anger, the problems that we have, and a lot of it is that.
By the way, he's mostly talking about trying to urinate.
It's less based on religion now than it was 25 years ago and 50 years ago. And I mean, we were people would say, a Christian and really religious, even other faiths country.
That's totally how I would put it. Who? Way to sum it up, dude. This is the thing. Master communicator. Like, say what you will, but goddamn, let's run that by. run that by me again.
Years ago and 50 years ago, and I mean, we were people would say, a Christian and really religious, even other faiths country.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, it's like a direct quote from how people used to describe America as a multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-religious society with a secular government. That's how most is, but maybe even other. Why does he always sound like he's being attacked by the words he's trying to say?
And that seems to be heading in the wrong direction. And I think as that goes, down, I think that our country goes down. I really do. I think this is a country that needs religion. It's like the glue that holds it together, and we don't have that. That's why you
Gee, I wonder why she's clapping it. Couldn't possibly be that that's her bread and butter, and that's how she's made all the money that allows her to buy all that land tax-free. Right.
you are the most important people, and I'm
By the way, this was a question about faith and what it means to you.
not sure you even realize it. And they're trying to hurt you. They're trying to stymie you. This new administration.
They're trying to curly Joe you. They're trying to alfalfa you. They're trying to are they trying to stymie us? Well, if they try to spanky us, I might be for it.
This new radical left group of people, and it's not so new. It's been around.
Yeah, I would argue. It's new, is it? She's 60. I mean, at least keep your attacks current.
For a while, and they are people that are not nice people. If you happen to be Catholic, we don't have too many Catholics here, maybe, but boy, they are persecuting Catholics. I actually said, how could
The current sitting president is a practicing Catholic who literally has had ashes on his forehead for Ash Wednesday every year of his presidency. Catholics, Catholic church attendance is actually up, but I digress.
a Catholic possibly vote for Kamala? How could that? I mean, no, the level of anger and the level of vitriol. You know, when you see what's
Wait, because her husband's a Jew? Is that what's up? Huh?
going on with the FBI and the Catholic Church, I say, what is happening? And you know, the expression is that you're next, because they're all.
That is the expression. That is, you're next. Yeah. Yeah, I think that expression is from Invasion of the Body Snatchers, I think.
Everybody's next with this group.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the expression is you're next, but basically everybody's next.
And they have a very bad agenda, and we have to stop it, and we have to win this election. I think winning this election, I think it's going to be the most important election in the history of our country.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck faith and whatever we were talking about. I'd so much rather you just kind of default to stump speech bullshit and attack her because it's a crowd pleaser.
So
Anyways, back to the faith thing. I'm kidding.
let's go back for just a minute. Let's go back into your childhood, because you
Oh dear.
didn't start going to church when you were a politician. Church was such a formation of your faith, going to Sunday school, going to
Oh yeah, it totally was.
the Presbyterian Church, Norman Vincent Peale's, Billy Graham Crusade. Talk about the formation of your faith as a child.
Yeah. I mean, you avoided it. Talk about the formation of your faith. Oh, you know, church is a thing, and churches are very churchy.
So when I was very young, my
Long time ago.
mother was from Scotland, and she was religious. I don't know as religious as some of the people in this room, but she was. She was religious. She was a believer. And my father was a real worker, and he was religious too, but he was working all the time. And a good man, great heart, a very strong guy, but had a great heart.
Did I mention his heart?
And I remember would walk down the street, would walk down some street, and
Oh, this is he gave $100 to a bum in a tin cup story. Something that later his son would grow up, probably through the teachings of the church they went to infrequently, to learn how to defraud charities entirely.
there'd be somebody holding a cup. You don't see it too much anymore, but you
No, mostly he's thinking of newsreels he watched as a child.
used to have, and they'd have pencils, and they'd actually sell you pencils. But
Yeah, that's at least they had a fucking job.
he'd always put $100 in that cup, always. He'd never pass that cup. And then $100 is probably like $1,000 today, right? So, but he was always very generous in that way. So
Okay, first of all, if that ever happened, it happened once, and not every time. Secondly, Trump apparently developed his jealousy of the poor as a young rich asshole was like, why are you giving him $100? Where's my fucking $100? Which is clearly the lesson he took away.
I grew up in Queens, and
God.
good. We have a lot of people. Good. It's good education. Getting through Queens is pretty good education. And that includes Brooklyn and a lot of other places, actually.
No, it doesn't. Queens does not include Brooklyn. Queens is a different place. If you're going to say it takes a lot to learn to get through anywhere, sure.
But Queens was good. We had a very nice area, really a good area.
You know what? I like the way you could spin a yarn.
Yeah, but
sorry.
My parents thought going to church was important, and we'd go to church. But I really went to Sunday school, and I learned. And Sunday school really took place a lot of times on a Saturday. Does that make sense? Does that still happen? Saturday? I call it Saturday church, and which.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And it's just, it's his grasp of the language. So Sunday school happened on Saturday church. Okay.
Spend an hour, and we had some.
Also, at my church, we had Sunday and Wednesday, and we would have like religious, like teaching groups for the kids that were separate. It was like Sunday school, but it wasn't just on Sunday. And the reason they call it Sunday school is because you used to put the kids in that room while the parents were in regular church, because kids get bored and tired and don't pay attention and all that kind of shit.
Very good people teaching, very good teaching, pastors, ministers. I think we called them probably more ministers.
You think he probably called them more ministers than pastors? You did? Did you? Do you remember? You think you called them ministers? Listen to that again real quick. Again, fuck me. Don't ever ask a question.
And would spend an hour, and we had some very good people teaching, very good teaching, pastors, ministers. I think we called them probably more ministers. And the church was associated, it was called First Presbyterian Church, and it was...
Yeah, because we wouldn't go to the second one. If they came in second, are they any good at churching?
A very old building, but a beautiful building, white, just beautiful building, actually.
Apparently, the part about it being white really stuck out. One moment.
And I'd love to go back and visit it sometime. I haven't been in that area in a little while, but I'd love to go back and visit it. But it was a great feeling. So I went to Sunday school on Saturday, and sometimes we'd have a little Sunday school after the church service, but most people like that actually on Saturday better. And I did that for a while, a number of years actually, and would go to church. And the bottom line is it made me.
Here it is. The bottom line. I went for years. What's the bottom line?
Feel good. Even at a young age, it made me feel good. Sometimes.
All right. That's the kind of church we're talking about, baby. If it makes you feel good, do it. It was the church of, if it makes you feel good, do it. It made me feel good. Well, why? First of all, it's bullshit. This is all nonsense. But hold on. I also, First Presbyterian Church in, let's see. Let's see. Okay, so okay, he means the First Presbyterian Church of Newtown, I'm pretty sure, which would be this one. Hold on, let me drag this over. This is probably the one he's talking about. This is not the First Presbyterian Church of Queens. There's a empty lot where that one is. This is probably the one he's talking about that he went to a long time ago. It was May 2009. It was built in 1895. The parish hall was built in 1931. Elmhurst neighborhood of Queens. Church, parish hall, and the current Queens Boulevard. Let's see. Built a structure that was demolished during the Revolutionary War. Second building, called the Old White Church, was erected in 1791 and remained standing until 1928. The congregation moved its current building when it was completed in 1895. Manse was built in 1907. Both the church building and manse were moved in 1924 when Queens Boulevard was widened. The parish hall was built in 1931. Late Gothic revival, granite, brownstone, blah, blah, blah. 1669, the town planned a new church. Separate buildings. So this is kind of the old white church. This is what he's talking about. Gee, I can't imagine why his father took him to that particular church. It's almost as if he liked the name. Also, that old white church does not look all that different from the church I went to as a kid, which was Peaks Mill Christian Church, it's a white steeple church. On the left-hand side is the graveyard. We got a building extension when I was 11 years old. Like 81 probably when it was finished. And in that side buildings where we had Sunday school, before that we would have it in the deacon's room off the main hall, which is to your right. So there's and then the baptismal part of it, I guess if you guys are facing me, if I was the preacher, the door over here would be the way the kids would go. We'd come in, you'd sing the main hymn, you'd say a prayer, and then the kids would all get the fuck up, get out of there, and go to Sunday school while the parents sat through regular church. And then if you got baptized, which I was at 11, you don't have to be till you're 13 when your pubes start showing up and the devil starts getting a hold of you. But I decided to jump in early because I'd read the Bible twice and I wanted to be an irritant just like Jesus was and outsmart all the deacons. So I was baptized at 11 in basically this giant bathtub that's to the side of the pulpit over here, and you put on a white gown and you go through, and it's like this giant wet t-shirt contest in front of the whole place, and everybody goes, oh, he's good breeding stock, look at him, basically buck naked, soaking wet, and the cold water doesn't seem to affect him at all. And so it's true, and you're welcome. And I love Hal's Christian lady voice. Well, and we had my favorite thing I think about church in general, besides the values that I learned and still apply to this day, was the Rotens, which were a couple, and the very classic for a church. If you went to church in the same time period, maybe even still to this day in a lot of places, you'll have the wife who sings the high part and the husband who sings the bass. And so whenever there's a hymn going on, there's all these, if you read in the hymnal, there's all these like these secondary lines and refrains that are in these things. Hank Sparks, ladies and gentlemen, how are you? I didn't get schlonged. The community got schlonged. Anyways, so, but the wife would always be going, I will cling to the old rugged cross. Like the husband would do that part. You know what I mean? If you're familiar. Okay. Do you think Donald Trump can tell a story like I just told? Well, it's pretty simple. You know? Can he name one hymn? Does he have one remembrance? I mean, how much potato salad did he eat at a fucking church cookout, or a little, like, the Easter egg hunt? What was the Easter egg hunt like there? See what I mean? That's your mom and dad, Manchita? Nice. Tell them I would love to sing the middle harmony part with them sometime. So, right? Let my Cameron go. So, do you think he can, single story like that? Any story of some kid bringing a BB gun and accidentally shooting someone in the arm. Gee, I wonder who that happened to. Still stings on cold winter nights. Anybody have a story of the preacher's wife who was allegedly sleeping with the guest preachers who would come through town, or the book of cassettes that I purchased called Carbon 14 Dating and the Lie of the Dinosaurs, which was had a giant addendum book and 16 audio cassettes that I like worked off the money for so I could buy and listen to it, which proves that 12 cassette like booklet thing that had all these recordings and sermons on how men and dinosaurs lived at the same time. I so fucking wish I could find it. Now, it's probably online somewhere at this point, but holy shit. Like, I'm just saying, see how quickly just the thought of church getting brought up, I can blitz through a dozen fucking, all right. This is where he's like, well, it was good and I felt good and it was I remember the building and feeling good. Because he went when he was a toddler and he stopped going as soon as he could say the word no.
You couldn't get out of there fast enough, I have to be honest with you.
Hold on, wait.
And you know, the bottom line is it made me feel good. Even at a young age, it made me feel good. Sometimes you couldn't get out of there fast enough, I have to be honest with you. And sometimes a lot of it depended on who was there and who was your teacher.
Hold on. Kent, what is it? Kent Hyvend? You got a Kent Hyvend tapes? I don't know if that was the guy's name. I can picture in my head hold on. Kent. Kent Hovind. No, the guy that did this, he's definitely part of the young Earth bullshittery, but you're proving Ken Hovin's point. The steel can be used to date things the way scientists were doing, using carbon 14 to date things age millions and hundreds. Okay, blah blah blah. He's into the carbon 14 stuff, but it wasn't him. This guy's too young. The guy who did it was an old preacher who was, barnstorming around. He probably died in a shootout with the police over cocaine.
One of the things that did happen as I grew older, we went to Marble Collegiate because my father was in Queens and Brooklyn mostly, and I started there, and then I went to Manhattan and started doing things in Manhattan. I became much more Manhattan-oriented, and I started a church, Marble Collegiate Church. It was a beautiful church, and down on Fifth.
Notice how he says he didn't say I started going to.
Fifth Avenue in the 20s. And I started going there, and that was Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking. And I was telling...
Okay, no. He went there because Peale spoke there.
Stories about him. I don't know if you'd like me to do that, but
I'd love it.
He was a great... you could call him a pastor, I think, or a minister, but I never differentiated, actually, with him. But what he was is...
because it didn't fucking matter, because you went there because he was... I'm doing the weave. Was I doing the weave? He didn't give a shit. He wasn't there because he was a pastor or a minister. He was there because he was selling magic.
Unbelievable speaker and loved God, but he was able to speak, and, this doesn't often happen. And when the service was over, you were disappointed that it wouldn't continue. He would tell stories of modern-day things as it related to the Bible. And he was actually an incredible storyteller. He told the story of Alfred Sloan, who was the founder of General Motors. And he was down and out. He suffered from massive alcoholism and lots of other problems. And then he came back, and, Norman, and he rose, and he'd tell the story about a man who became a great business leader, General Motors, especially, you could say especially then, because at that time there was they didn't have a lot of foreign competition. This was a whole...
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, I told an anecdote and came back to doing what I was doing. This motherfucker is... I guess the weave has come unraveled.
A ball game, and it was...
Oh, the weave shall come unraveled, and the Lord Lord shall lose his way, and we roam through the desert, and we worry will turn gay. YMCA. Sorry.
The biggest at that time. And he took it, did a phenomenal job for a long period of time, and he became a very religious man, actually. But he told the story in great depth and detail, and it was always so fascinating the way he spoke. And I watched, because
What do you mean? Incomplete, coherent sentences and paragraphs with a beginning, a middle, and an end? With a continuity in the concepts discussed that come to a conclusion that is actually interesting? Something like that? All right. It's amazing. When he spoke, people wanted to hear it. They didn't walk out, you're saying? They didn't go, this fucker's never going to get to the end of this. I don't even know what the shit he's talking about at this point. He's just blathering, let's beat the traffic. Really, nobody did that with Norman Vincent Peale? Oh, fuck.
didn't know him as a young minister or preacher, because a lot of people call him a preacher. And
or pastor. Jesus Christ.
I just called him a religious man that made religion very interesting. He made.
Is that what you did? Wouldn't it be easier to just say preacher? I call it. Excuse me. Have you seen the man who's a very religious man who makes religion interesting? Huh? He speaks of he talks in regard to religion in a way that, like, he would go, oh, and then he was like, oh, and then he comes back to it, and you're like, like that guy. You mean our minister? Yeah, a lot of people call him that. I'd like to refer to him as the fella that speaks when the time is right for the thing, and then the story goes, wow, and you're like, hey. Oh, yeah, him. He's right over there. His name is Norman. This is his superhero origin story for his faith. And in case you weren't following along, when we last left our intrepid hero, he was 3, maybe 6, and couldn't wait to get out of church. And then years passed, and he went to see Norman Vincent Peale speak at a large church, probably because he did it for free. And if you went to one of the lectures that Peale gave, he charged money. But if you saw him in a church, it was free. So Trump went to the church that he didn't go to as a church. So that's why he didn't know how to address anyone or who did what at the church, because he'd never fucking been there before.
He made all aspects of religion very, very interesting.
It's like a gift. All aspects of it. All right, that's cool. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we used AI and just made Harris say this? Just took Harris and made Kamala Harris digitally take these words, make it in her voice, and she's saying it. And then we played this for a bunch of people. The right would flip the fuck out. They'd go, she's the dumbest fucking person. This is all fake. She's never set foot in a church. She's a lying Jezebel whore. Like, they, honestly, right? Wouldn't they? Check me on this. Chat room. Agree? Agreed. If we used AI and just converted this into it, so if you watched it for using a deep fake, holy shit, I can't, what? Listen to her. This is just nonsense. And you go, actually, click, and you go, this is actually Trump speaking. We just made it look like her and her voice using AI to see how you would react to it. Don't give them ideas. Oh, I got news for you. It would only work for us. Because the true version is available in its form, even if they made a fake version of it and they were like, listen to this bullshit. Ultimately, people would go, yeah, it's a deep fake. And the news would be a deep fake. So people would go and watch this nonsense and they go, oh, fuck that dude. Good Lord. Jesus.
And probably it was the way he did it, his performance in a sense.
Yeah, it was probably, yes. When you're talking to a crowd, it's probably the way you do it that makes it interesting. Jesus.
But I watched him for a long time. I got married in
An hour.
the church, and he was
During the ceremony? What'd you do? Hire him to speak at your wedding?
the minister. And then what happened is I watched him get older, and he was still great into his late 80s. And I watched his last sermon, and he got up to the lectern, and
He keeled over.
he looked at the audience, and he said, I just can't do this anymore. He was just very tired. You know, I was there, actually. It was amazing.
Huh. Were you? Also, why is that coming to mind? Because I got to tell you, listening to him lately, that sounds like what this motherfucker's about to do. It's a little foreshadowing, kids.
And the whole church got up. And the church, by the way, you know, you see some churches aren't getting big crowds. This church was packed every Sunday. When he spoke, every Sunday. And then they had the flow rooms, I guess they called them, where you had rooms that had like television sets or whatever it was, closed circuit, I think they called it. And you'd sit there and you hoped you didn't go there, but, you know, it's a reasonably big church. But sometimes, and they'd have them all over the place. I mean, they'd have all these rooms.
Hold on, real quick. I want to see something.
Church got up. And the church, by the way, you know, you see some churches
Hold on, wait. He says, like, how old was he?
right into his late 80s. And
His late 80s, okay.
I watched his last sermon, and he got up to the lectern.
He watched his last sermon in his late 80s.
And he looked at the audience,
Mm-hmm.
and he said, I just can't do this anymore. He was just very tired. You know,
Yeah, you saw the last one?
I was there, actually. It was amazing.
He was present. He was there. He was now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but Hal, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale's final Hour of Power sermon was in 1991, and he was 92 years old when that happened. This is at the, by the way, this is at the Crystal Cathedral. I think it's the one, is this the one outside of San Diego that looks like a fucking castle in like the game Diablo? Lordy, Lordy. Oh, Robert Schuler's Hour of Power. And then with Dr. Joyce Brothers, there's Schuler. And then Norman Vincent Peale. There's Schuler. Remember that dude? And then there's Dr. Joyce Brothers. And she's got some questions and some answers. She's going to talk to you about good sex versus great sex. This is right up. This is after she did The Lonely Guy and she was in bed with him. Okay, so Norman. Oh, they go through this. And then there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, real quick, play this. There he is. This is Norman Vincent Peale.
A book of mine and one by Joyce Brothers. But he says such nice things. I am very proud of him. I've known him for about maybe 40 years. And he has become the greatest minister of the gospel, not only in this country, but around the world. It's an achievement of spectacular worth. Believers are winners, so said one of the most famous athletic coaches in the United States. Believers are achievers, so said one of the greatest business leaders
Here comes the
in the
punchline.
city of New York. Now, Both statements are true. But Jesus said the same thing 20 centuries ago when he said, if you can believe, all things are possible to him that believeth.
That's right. He did not say believeth, by the way. Anyways, 92 years old, still got it. He's an old man. It's okay. He's a sweet enough guy, never hurt a soul. Norman Vincent Peale, just like one of these, like one of the movements of like nice guy Christianity. Yeah, fine. That's, you know, again, 92 years old, not anywhere near his last sermon. Trump is full of shit that he was present at it. If anything, Trump watched it on television. He was not there.
And the whole church got up. And the church, by the way, you know, you see some churches aren't getting big crowds. This church was packed every Sunday. When he spoke, every Sunday. And then they had the flow rooms, I guess they called them, where you had...
Sorry, Peale retired what? Sorry? Retired in 1984 from Marble Collegiate? Gotcha. So he wasn't even well near the end of his life. Although his age does rely on it. He was in his early, he would have been, if he stepped down at 83 or something, yeah, 84, he would have been 83 years old. He wouldn't have been in his late 80s at all. He would have been in his early 80s, but whatever. Just saying.
Rooms that had like television sets or whatever it was, closed circuit, I think they called it.
Yeah, that's what they used to call it.
And you'd sit there and you hoped you didn't go there, but, you know, it's a reasonably big church, but sometimes, and they'd have them all over the place. I mean, they'd have all these rooms with it, and some of them pretty good sized rooms. The place was packed all the time. But I watched him as he got up, and he said that. He just said, no, I can't do this anymore. I won't be able to do this. It was his last sermon. And he always...
No, it wasn't. It was by no means his last sermon.
Stood to the left of the lectern, and he was holding it. And he always held it, let it go, hold it, and walked around a little bit. But he was very comfortable to the left. I remember always it seemed that. But he was holding it with his right hand and just said, I can't do this anymore. And he was, I don't know if he hit 90, but he was not a young guy. But he was a fascinating person to watch. He was great. He was great. The other person that I found...
Also, do you notice in the whole story about Norman Vincent Peale, it was all about the crowds he drew and how they had to have overflow rooms and how he stood there and how like one hand on the lectern, his left hand all the time, but now he's using his right and that kind of stuff. Just all superficial crowd-based shit, right? None of it has anything to do with the content of what he said at all.
Incredible, because my father would take me to Yankee Stadium to see Billy Graham, right? Billy Graham. And that place would be packed, and he was amazing, and he was...
Again, it's all about how packed it is.
That was another one, and he had a gentleman who would sing How Great Thou Art. You know who that is, right?
Of course.
And
Shay.
he sang it, Shay, that's right. He sang it for years, and my father thought it was the greatest. It was, I'd said, well, compare this to Elvis's version. Later on to my father, long later, but, you know, Elvis, this was before Elvis almost.
Fuck me. This is so aggravating.
But I said, Dad, which is better? He said, not Elvis. And we all like Elvis, right? But, you know, he was just, he was great. But Billy Graham was great. He had...
Yeah, Elvis was great. Billy Graham was great. Place was packed. Tax-free. I don't know how he did it. I should have started a church instead of pretending to build buildings, I mean.
An influence. He had a real influence. And it's nice to see Franklin Graham doing so well. He's doing so many things for so many people.
You know, it's amazing because your faith has played such a...
Nothing. And she's trying, man. She is, look, Christian, she knows this. She's all up in his ass, whatever. But she knows her audience isn't. This is the key part. She knows that they're all going, fuck are you talking? This is not how you react to faith and belief in God and the depth of spirituality that she's alleging we're supposed to have. Because every weekend when he's not here, it's all about how deeply you feel it and how you walk in the faith with the Lord. And like she slams that shit into their head. And then this dude comes up and goes, I don't know, how big are your crowds though? I mean, it's really about crowd size, isn't it? I mean, what was the turnout at the Sermon on the Mount? I bet I kicked its ass. Fuck me.
Role in your actions. Like when you mentioned Franklin, many people don't know that even recently you organized and gave $7 million to Samaritan's Purse for the North Carolina disaster.
Oh, no. Organized and gave. No. You don't get to conflate those things, you dippy. No.
Relief.
No, he didn't. No, he fucking did not. No, don't. You're with arms wide open. She lies like a fucking rug with arms wide open. No, he didn't. He did not give any of that money. He showed up, made a speech. He didn't even pay for the fucking podium or the microphones. Fuck off. He literally just took credit for it. He did nothing.
Amen.
Well, like, you couldn't give it to a better person. It's amazing.
You didn't give it to anybody. Other people gave. Other people.
Yeah, we raised a lot of money and we gave a lot of money.
Yeah. We raised a lot of money and we gave a lot of money. Did you, fake billionaire? Did you match those funds? Here's a fucking crazy idea. Here's a nutty concept. Did you match funds with how many people? Yeah, well, people gave $3.5 million and we matched that, so we reached $7 million. We were very proud of that fact, and nothing, fucking nothing.
I had a friend of
She
mine.
looks like the Terrifier.
Steve Woodcock, he gave him $1 million or something. They are just, a lot of people are very generous, but Franklin.
Yeah, not you. Yeah, Steve Witkoff wrote $1 million check. Did you? No. And you're supposed to have more money than Witkoff. What the fuck?
Does a great job. He's always, whenever I go to, because as president, I do it a lot. You'd go to a tornado or you'd go to a hurricane. I mean, I saw.
That's what you do. Yeah. Mostly the openings. You do the ribbon cuttings on tornadoes. You do. If you're president, you go to a tornado. You know, I'd love to stay. I'm sure the dinner's lovely, but I have a hurricane and I'm going to be late. I'm going to be late for my hurricane. You go, do you? That's what you do?
A lot of very bad things. The destruction of nature is amazing.
You mean, excuse me, you're talking about God's thumbnail there.
Some of these tornadoes, the big ones I watched, and I'd look, and it was like cut by a razor blade. The damage on the left was 0, and the damage on the right was devastation. It would be like when you fly over it.
So you're saying that on the left there was no damage? Because you don't, 0 damage is not, never mind.
In a helicopter, you'd see a straight line, as straight as it could be, but it was literally cut.
Bullshit! No, it's not literally cut by. You know why you think that? Because you were that fucking far away. You weren't in a helicopter, you dumb motherfucker. You were looking out a window of a plane, just like everybody else. No! We've all seen Twister, you dumb motherfucker. I've lived through 3 fucking hurricanes. I've lived through fucking 2 major earthquakes, you dipshit. What the fuck are you talking about? God's not cutting lines of coke with fucking tornadoes, you absolute asshole. What?
A tree on the left wasn't touched. A tree on the right was turned upside down, and sometimes it was 500 yards away. Amazing, the power of nature. But whenever I go,
it hurts. It just gives you kind of like a It's like this whole area. Anybody experience this? This whole area just goes numb, like from basically here forward.
There, I see Frank.
I think it's because nature, like when someone is this dumb in your presence, there's some like leftover primate stuff from when we were Neanderthals, where you'd go kind of your lizard meets primate brain would go, this person is so stupid, they might get us all killed. Therefore, I must beat them to death with a rock. But I'm having thoughts that that's not a good thing to do. So your entire prefrontal cortex goes numb. So you're like, never mind. Maybe that's what it is.
But he's always there. He's always the first one to. I said, I'm going to beat you to one of these sites one of these days, Franklin. And he really means it. He's a good person. I mean, I had one problem with Franklin. Should I tell him the problem?
Sure.
She's saying, uh-oh.
It's a great one.
No, but I was telling... I tell stories. We have these big rallies. Last night we had a great rally at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, yeah. Look at his face. That went great. Yeah. Totally going to win New York now. That was amazing. All the Hitler comparisons. By the way, can I say something for the record? I don't want to bum him out, but... Hitler had a bigger crowd, and he wasn't even there. Like the Nazi rally that happened that he was copying had a bigger crowd. I know it's probably very upsetting, but he couldn't even match that. And that was back when people, there was only a few buses. The trains were all local, and I mean, try catching a cab in the 30s. Am I right? Jesus.
And sometimes I'll use a little bit, not hard foul, but soft foul. We call it soft foul. But, to emphasize.
I'm sorry, what is that? Uncooked chicken? What's soft foul? You mean soft foul language?
Something about somebody's capabilities or whatever I might be talking about.
Also, can I just say nobody does that? No. Let's just put this aside. He's a lying motherfucker on a bunch of shit. One of them is that he constantly, when he makes up a phrase to try and cover the fact that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, he makes up a colloquialism that people say around him that nobody uses. Nobody says soft foul. Hey, use a little soft foul tonight. They're going to love it. I'm going to lay off the soft foul tonight and keep it clean. I might go hard foul tonight. Nobody talks like that around him. No, we call it fuck you. No, you don't. Nobody does. And as a matter of fact, most of the time when he says these phrases, he never says them again. Like sometimes it'll get stuck in his head because he'll make it up, and he'll say it twice, like 2 rallies in a row, and then the next one he'll fuck it up and then just blow it off and stop saying it. So no, not in any way do people around him say the words soft foul, where he goes, I think I'm going to call it soft foul, or I said a couple of soft fouls tonight. Nobody anywhere talks like that, especially around him. That's just a dumb lie in front of a large group of people. He is such a lazy, pathological liar, he doesn't even try anymore.
And I got a letter from Franklin, and I met him at the airport. It was on a visit that I made to actually...
I said, tell Franklin to have a Coke and a smile and shut the fuck up.
To...
What? You cannot use...
At the airport. He was there with his planes and
filth,
everybody.
flying filth.
Great volunteers. They're really going. So anyway, I got a letter a couple of days later, and he says, Mr. President, it's Franklin Graham, and I just want to tell you I love what you do. I love what you say. I love your stories. I think they're great. And keep telling them, but they'd be even better if you wouldn't use foul language. And I went, true.
Hey, don't worry. He doesn't mean the bigoted anti-woman stuff. He just means the swear words. The feelings, the ideas, the moral lapses, and the disgusting concepts, he's totally good. Just don't say fuck and you're cool. You can be anti-gay, anti-woman, fuck poor people. Just don't say fuck poor people. Just go, some people's responsibility is in another's hands and we leave that up to God. That's how you say fuck poor people in Franklin Graham's speech.
I said, ooh. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. Was I supposed to be honored or not? But he said, He said the foul language, so I thought about it. And I said, I'm going to try. And I did try. And I'm not sure I'd make the emphasis quite as good. I've been pretty good about it, but I'm not sure. Every once in a while,
He literally has gotten far worse since that letter. If that letter ever actually came, I'm pretty sure it was a conversation. It wasn't a letter or a fucking like phone. It sounds like a phone message when he describes it.
need a little bit of something, a little spice to juice them up a little bit. But
I'm sorry to what? Sorry, a little spice to what?
a little spice to juice them up a little bit.
I'm sorry, a little spice. You need spice to what?
A little spice to juice them up a little bit.
See, I would have said juice, but that has a sound in it, as opposed to whatever the fuck this was.
A little spice to juice them up a little bit.
Yeah, that was Jews him up. That was Jews him up a little bit. Now, do I think he meant to say Jews? No, I think it's a Freudian slip. But I guess he's saying that maybe deep in the recesses of his mind, he remembers the old Lenny Bruce bit. Probably not. Lenny Bruce said that Jews don't understand that there's that swear words have a value to them, a numeric value, because FUCK is worth 50 points, whereas SHIT is worth 5 points. And the reason is because both rabbis and priests, SHIT, only one of them FUCKs. Got it? Okay.
But I got that letter and I sort of laughed. I said, I'm not sure you're right about this, Franklin, but I'm going to give it a shot. But he's done a fantastic job. But so many of the people I know here that we just met backstage, I mean, they have been so incredible to us. And we've
Let me guess, fantastic job.
had them at the White House, a lot of the pastors and respected people. I recognized a lot of them just originally by just seeing them on television for so many years.
Yeah, I didn't go to their churches. You don't go.
Right? Including you.
I was going to say, people don't realize that we met, literally, you were watching television and called me out of the blue. And I'll never forget, you said,
Nice tits.
you've got the it factor. And I said, oh, sir, we call that the anointing. And that was our hello.
Yeah, he didn't know what the fuck you were talking about, lady. He meant tit factor. I'm not kidding. Yes, there you go, Dejan. Yeah, Dejan to go. Yeah, entendu. Yeah, tit factor. That's exactly right.
And from the Swaggart families here, from Reverend Jimmy Swaggart to so many other great people that you've watched.
Is Jimmy Swaggart here?
He couldn't make it, but the whole family is
I
over
love
here.
Jim. Where is Jim? I love Jimmy
Donnie's
Swaggart.
here.
I don't even.
I'm pretty sure Jimmy Swaggart is ancient as fuck, right? Yeah, Jimmy Swaggart. I have sinned against you. Let's see. He is. Where are you? Yeah, he's 89. He probably could walk out yeah. Let's see. He's got. Yeah, he's still got his show, the Jimmy Swaggart telecast.
I don't even know if he likes me, but I think he does. But I love. Where's Donnie?
Oh, you guys have a lot in common.
Where's Donnie? We got to see Donnie.
And
Where's Donnie?
they literally have one of the biggest
Is that?
networks.
Hi, Donnie.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, say hello. How's he doing? Okay. That guy is a talented guy. So are you, by the way. Good job. Good job. Say hello to him.
And I think
Terrific.
so many people don't know the side.
Yeah, some people don't know.
Channel 5, KXAS TV.
100% chance that she would not live.
We saw the preacher on TV.
He leads a multi-million-dollar evangelical empire. Now he's confessed to a moral mistake, and he's pulling away from the pulpit for a while.
I have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse every stain.
Well, quite frankly, I think the motel staff will take care of most of them.
Until it is in the seas of God's forgetfulness. Thank you. Thank you. And God bless you.
Man, that's easy.
Marvin Gorman, a TV evangelist from New Orleans, was believed to have given photos of Swaggart and a prostitute to church leaders.
Yeah, he made a flip book.
I have no comment on that.
Gorman confessed to immorality a few years ago, but blames Swaggart for accusing him of numerous affairs.
Oh, dropkick me Jesus through the goalposts of life. I whipped out my wiener and it wasn't with my wife. Oh, Lord, please forgive me. I'm going to the devil to get back the books that I lent him last week. Oh, where's my dirty magazines, oh Lord? Where's my dirty, dirty magazines, oh Lord? Jesus Christ. Like, again, like this is why Trump likes Swaggart.
The scandal has rocked Assembly of God members everywhere, especially Reverend Don George.
Yeah, he had a full head of hair when this scandal started.
Swaggart's close friend.
Literally, and it just ran away. Dropkick.
Past 25 years.
It was as if a very dear friend had died.
But George says this incident, on top of the Jimmy Baker sex scandal, will not kill the televangelism industry.
Television is...
Oh, of course not. Yeah, on top of the Jim Baker sex. If you'll remember, these dudes were getting scattered ass left and right. This guy himself was like one of the few guys who wasn't getting laid in this whole process. Fucking Jim Baker was the RFK Jr. of the televangelists.
So we've taken a little bit of time because I have had the up close and personal seat in your life, to see God in your life. And we'll talk about faith offices and economy and immigration and everything in just a moment. But, you know, the media attacks you relentlessly. And you...
Yeah, they do. They just go after you.
You've been under lawfare and the absolute worst. I'll never forget Ralph Reed and Joanne, where we were at the Journey concert, my kids. And
you're at the Journey concert? Like, sorry. Are we going to find out this is a sad name for a concert like the Journey? Or you were actually seeing Journey?
And somebody said the president's been shot.
How did you grow up singing in church? Yes, I did.
And
by the way, she starts crying because she's telling the story. And watch Trump's reaction.
I froze, like so many people. I started crying and started praying. But
yeah, that wasn't Melania's reaction, I would like to say, for the record. For real. That was not at all, at all her reaction. I swear to God, she's reacting the way he wishes Melania would.
When you rose up with fight, fight, fight. Woo!
Yeah, just like Jesus would. I would like to say that in the same way that if Trump had just fucked up COVID less. Oh yeah, she's married to the lead singer of Journey. That's right. The Parnell, or Arnell rather, the new guy, or the fill-in guy after him, Jesus. But that's right, you're right. It wasn't the lead singer. I want to say it's the keyboard player. Isn't he the nutty, like born again in the band? Anyways, doesn't matter. You know how like Trump would have been probably reelected if he just fucked up COVID a little less? If Trump had literally risen up and instead of going fight, 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 said, This is wrong. You know, we all need to come together for the good of our nation, or some like simple words. Oh, Jonathan, yes, okay, yeah, right. Not the singer, but the keyboard player, I think, right? I think Joey Belladonna would be a great fit for Journey too. I don't know if he can get it. Steve Perry's no longer the singer, but he will always be the singer.
Thank you.
Watch his response to her.
I think so many
See, this means she likes me because she's got tears. If she didn't have tears, no, she does. She really does. She's a great person. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
That's the response. That's the sum total. You can tell she likes me because she's got tears. If she didn't have tears, it means she doesn't like me. Melania didn't have tears. Just saying.
It was very difficult for so many of us that do dearly love you and not only respect you as president and what you've done, but love you as the man. And
sounds I don't know, it just sound like the most pious of relationships. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show.
we understand that, and I think the world got to see.
Yeah, where's my likes at, by the way? We got some likes? Are we good on likes? Has everybody hit the like that's hit the like? And if you've hit it already, you don't have to hit it again. If you want to hit a thumbs down, too, if you're a maggot and you're here and you're like, what the fuck? Hit the thumbs down. I don't care. It's like all engagement is good engagement, even if you type something in there. Yeah.
In one of the worst situations, that you knew and know that wasn't luck, that was God, because he has a purpose in your life.
Yeah, but it could also be God fucking with him, right? So you're saying Corey Comparator, God was just done with him. Maybe God does have a purpose for him, but it's as an example. Maybe he was being pantsed in front of the whole world. I'm going to let you live, but I'm going to remind you that you're mortal and you're going to live your last few years, reviewing the terrible things that you've done, knowing that you're going to pass away like everyone else, and your illusion of permanence is going to be totally destroyed, right?
So share just a tiny bit about God in your life now, and because we all have these journeys
She is so trying to drag this shit out of him.
of faith. We have ups, we have downs, we fall, we get back up, but you've consistently.
Yeah. That's that great old sermon. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Don't you ever want to let me down? I get, Lord. Yeah.
Had this deep respect and honor of God in your life. And that day, I think,
What?
showed the world when you.
Yeah, thank you. Showed the world what? That he can have his ears zinked by a piece of the fucking teleprompter?
Knew that God saved you for a purpose.
Well, thank you.
Yes, so that he could spend the next couple of years embarrassed in court, being, having his entire myth disassembled in front of the public and then going to jail like he deserves to. Of course. Yeah, let me tell you something. If God was, trying to do him a favor, death might have been an easier way to go. I'm not for it. But if you're talking about some sort of like magical thing, like he just lifted him up, took him from us, he was too good to be here, right? Jesus, these people.
Thank you very much. That was quite a day.
That was good, quite a day.
But we had a tremendous crowd in
Motherfucker! We had a... Listen to that. We had a tremendous crowd. No, he didn't. He lies about the number all the time. But every single answer starts with how big somebody's crowd size is. Like, can you imagine Gentlemen, can any of you imagine having a dick this small? I certainly can't.
Pennsylvania. And, you know, it was an amazing set of circumstances. And, you know, my two sons are shooters. They're very good, very high quality. They'd be like a scratch golfer or better. I mean, they're both very good. They know everything about guns. And
they're your sons, and you don't even know the terms for their favorite thing?
They learned it from their grandfather. They spent time in Europe, back and forth during...
No, they didn't. They didn't learn about fucking AR-15s and MK-47s from their grandfather.
Summers and all, and
they learned from the douchebags they go and shoot endangered species with.
Good. But they understood, they know exactly what the weapon was that they used.
What was it? What was it? What was anybody?
That this person used. And it was 130 yards away. And when Don called me first, he said, you know, somebody was protecting you up there because it's almost impossible for even a bad shot to miss you from that distance. Now, he didn't miss.
All right, fuck off. He was being shot at when it happened. It was a hurried shot. He wasn't even properly aiming. He was just firing down range. It's not hard to miss your target when you're doing that anyways. Don't believe me? Ask a survivor of a school shooting. Somebody who was in a fucking hallway.
It's me. Probably an eighth of an inch is the difference. And
yeah, and if there'd have been a nail in the road that was an eighth of an inch the other way, the dude would have got a flat tire and never showed up at the fucking event and blown his own brains out 3 weeks later. What are you talking about?
It all happened to be because I was looking to the side on a chart on illegal immigration. Can you believe it?
Yes. You mean the one that says you no longer were president after April of 2020? The lie that you keep posting? I'm okay.
That famous chart, that now famous chart. But I never do it. It's very interesting because if you look at the circumstances, I never do it.
Yes, he does. And one of the reasons why he moved it to the front was because that they were focusing on that shit. It wasn't an accident.
Never use that chart at the beginning.
Yeah, you do.
And it's always on the left.
No, it isn't. No, it fucking isn't. We've seen multiple events. We've watched them before where he's got screens on both sides. Most of the time he looks to the right. What are you talking about? The left of what? Stage left? This is so dumb. And it's not even close to true. And am I wrong, or did this motherfucker say, like it was his fucking virginity in the fucking 1600s, I will speak of this once and ne'er speak of it again, at the fucking RNC, remember? Remember that shit? He was supposed to, I'm going to talk about this and what happened, then I'm never going to talk about it again. He won't shut the fuck up about it, and he screws up the story every time.
I never do it at the right, and I only use it maybe...
Yes, he does. Yes, he fucking does.
15 or 20% of the time. I don't use it for every speech, and, you know, I go off teleprompter a lot, which is, I think, better, but it's nice to have a president that can go off teleprompter, right? We don't seem to be having that. We don't seem to be having that much anymore. But anyway, so I was talking...
Well, most presidential candidates recognize that the people that they're talking to, especially at the rally, have shit to do. One of the things that they have to do is go out and get other people to vote. Talk about what you're talking about in a clear, concise fashion. They have to be able to see what you said and hear it and understand it clearly enough that they pass it along to their friends and family or people at work that they're trying to get to vote for you. That's why you have a stump speech that's consistent. Otherwise, everybody'd be free balling all these years. It's because it fucking works. Listen to a maggot try to explain any of these fucking points that he's making, and they just sound like assholes. Even if they want to believe it, they sound like morons, and they can't articulate any part of it. You know, part of that is because they're fucking stupid. But the other part of the reason is that he describes it so poorly, and he's all over the fucking map.
About something, and I just said, you know, pull down that chart if you would, and I turned to the right very quickly, and ping.
That's not what happened. It's not what happened.
And I knew something was real bad. And I went down. I think I was screaming probably go down because, you know, I don't think I would have been that. If you see the thing, which you've only seen about 10,000 times, it's probably the most played clip ever. But if you see it, I mean, the move down was pretty fast. And I think I was probably listening to different people, including Secret Service, to get down. But
You think you were probably?
no, I got hit. I got hit and, you know, hit hard.
No, you didn't get hit hard. Your ear got nicked, you fucking weirdo.
And but it was an eighth of an inch.
Corey Comparator got hit hard. The two other survivors got hit hard. They're not going to live normally ever again. Corey's dead, but the other two are not going to be healthy, normal, functioning people. I mean, they're permanently wounded. They're maimed because of this shit.
And I was down there, and some things are surreal. I was asked a question the other day by a big journalist. What was it like when you won the presidency?
Jesus Christ. By the way, Rogan asked him that question. A big journalist. A big journalist.
And in fact, it was Joe Rogan that asked me
Motherfucker.
this question. That was very good. Good question. I thought it was a good, and you know, I talked about it. It was sort of surreal because all of a sudden I'm riding down to the White House and I'm passing a building that I just built, a hotel, Pennsylvania Avenue, beautiful, and I sold it to.
He also didn't build that. That's an old fucking building. It's the post office. He didn't build that fucking thing.
It's a Waldorf Astoria now. It's nice.
Yeah, now it's making money and people actually want to stay there and it's not just a fucking gathering spot for fucking Russian spies.
And it was very successful. And then we go down a little further and we're
It is very successful after.
at the White House. And then all of a sudden I'm standing by the Lincoln bedroom. I said, you know, that was such a surreal experience. But when I was shot in front of, you know, massive numbers of people, tremendous numbers, you couldn't even see the end.
Oh my God. The fact that he was shot, the crowd size. But can you imagine if Reagan went, well, there was only about 15 or 20 people around the car. It would have been way better if the street was full of people to watch me get shot. Like, Jesus.
And I was down there. I was absolutely, I fully understood what had happened. I was shot in the ear, and the Secret Service thought I was shot elsewhere. They thought I was.
No, they didn't. It is their job to check. People get shot all the time and don't know they're wounded, especially if they've been shot in multiple places. They'll feel total pain in some superficial wound, and the rest of they might have an abdominal shot they don't feel at all, and they look down and black blood is coming out of their abdomen because of that. And the Secret Service people know that. They're trained on that, you fucking moron.
I was shot much more than once, and I guess 8 bullets were shot, and the Secret Service person shot 1, also helped, but as I understand it, probably by the local police who shot 1, also hit the rifle, and Secret Service guy hit the target, but both of them.
By target, he means the top of Crooks's head.
You know, played a very big role. Otherwise, you would have had a much, because he had a lot of ammunition. This guy, a lot of people, and it was wall-to-wall people. It would be like, you know, taking everybody.
It was outside. There were no walls. What the fuck?
Going back as far as you can. It was just as dense as it is right in this room right.
No, it isn't. No, it wasn't. It's on video, you dumb motherfucker.
Now, so it could only hit people. But I knew exactly where it was. So I knew it was my ear. They said no. I said, no, it's my ear. I got like 7 or 8 guys sitting on top of me. They were heavy. They were very heavy.
Okay, first of all, bullshit. Oh my God. We all heard what he said. You just heard he kept his mouth shut until he started looking for his shoes. There was not a big conversation about whether he's okay or not.
People. And anyway, but and by the way, they were very brave because, you know, they jumped on top of me and the bullets were flying right over their head. They were.
Yeah. Plus, if you jump on top of him, he's going to express some bodily semi-solids and some gas. Happens every time. It's just gonna come out. He's barely holding it in most of the time anyways. You're going to get shit on your sleeve.
Very Secret Service was very brave. They were very brave. And, you know, they really were. It was incredible. I heard the bullets. You know, I didn't know. You hear those things are moving, and you hear them as clear as you can.
Really? Bullets travel fast, do they? Yeah? You hear them whiz by because they're going fast? Bullets? I don't know much about guns and bullets, but they're faster? Yeah. So you're saying they're probably about the same speed as Superman or slightly slower?
As clear as I hear you. So anyway, but what I did see is when you're in that position,
prone,
you have like this feeling that usually a lot of times you wouldn't really understand. I had total, but when Don called me up, he said, "Dad, you know what?"
All right, what does anybody know what that means? You're laying there on the ground and there's a bunch of fucking people on top of you, and you're like, I feel good. Feel like when I was in church as a little kid. It's basically the same thing. I'm in church and there's a big guy laying on top of me. It reminds me of church. What?
For 130 yards, to me it sounded pretty far away, but for a shooter, 130 yards is like nothing. And he said, it's a miracle that that's when I first realized it's a miracle that bullet just hit your ear.
No, it isn't. It's a miracle the dude got up on the roof. I mean, if you want to talk about, like, things the odds are against, the dude was walking around with a gun. They pulled the two guys who were watching the roof where he was planning to go. Otherwise, they'd have seen him and shot him before he fucking went anywhere.
It's a miracle. But if I didn't turn...
No. You could equally say it's a miracle he was able to get a shot off that clipped you. If you hate you and you think the miracle's the other way, like, I bloodied the king, right? If you were on his side, you'd think that was a miracle more so than the fact that you nearly got shot.
So at all of these circumstances, if I didn't turn at that exact angle, because he was right exactly 90 degrees, he was exactly there.
Oh my God, if he hadn't paid his car registration, he wouldn't have been pulled over a week earlier and they wouldn't have found the shit in his trunk because, like, fuck off.
If I didn't turn, if I turned halfway, no good. If I turned a little bit past that, no good. It had to be that exact angle. And I was going further, but this was the angle, and this was when the bullet came in, because 100th of a second later, I would have been turned too far, because I was going further, another 25%.
Also, no, you weren't. What do you mean you were going further? This is so weird.
The chart was back here.
And does Tito not have PTSD? He totally has PTSD. Untreated. There's no question. He has untreated PTSD, and nobody around him gives a fuck. And he's treated so many people poorly in his life that, even when I feel the urge to, have some semblance of sympathy for his circumstance, he has built this he's dug this hole he's in. This is not, this is not a person who just I don't know, I just don't know how to relate to people. I've just got social problems and people don't understand what I'm going through. And somebody would come up and go, you feeling okay? This is a lot. We got to sit down and talk about this. You need to work your way through this. You need to do some breathing exercises. You need to figure out what to do if you start feeling panicked or any of this stuff, because you clearly are experiencing these things and your brain is going to start seizing up if you don't deal with it. Nobody's doing that, especially not his fucking kids.
So I was doing that and it went by. And he said that, God has to have done this because it's impossible. Think of all the circumstances.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Don Jr. did not say God had to have done this.
When you think of all the circumstances. You're turning. You're
turning. You got the big racist picture on the screen, which God loves. You got a fireman just over your shoulder, ready to catch the bullet. He's there with his family. He doesn't want them to die. If he didn't like his family, that wouldn't work out. The guy is up on the roof after he's been able to wander around, because everybody in all my fan base are so pro-gun, you can't even ask somebody a question or they'll shoot at you if you go, where are you going with that gun? So lucky.
Big luck right there, right? Big something. Something happened.
Notice he's used to saying luck. He has no survivor's guilt. None whatsoever.
You'd be just in that position, and it was only an eighth of an inch off, right? So it's like, I mean.
And also, the fact that the bullets killed Corey Comparator, the nerve of somebody to go, it barely missed me. Yeah, because what? God flicked it away so it could hit the fireman? Fuck off.
It's incredible. But also, as I said, I'm never right. I'm always left. It's always at the end. I never.
Lies. None of that is true.
Pick it up at the beginning. This was almost the first sentence of what I was talking about, right at the beginning, first paragraph at least. And it was very early. So there was so many different things. And I remember Don, and then it was confirmed by Eric. Eric said, I can't believe it. And when I got to the hospital, the doctors and everything was great, unbelievable. But it was, the ear bleeds a lot, just in case you don't want to find out about it. But the ear bleeds a lot.
Hey, asshole. Both of my ears are pierced. This one's pierced 3 times. No, it doesn't.
A lot. The doctor said, like, the most in the body has to do with
bullshit.
Cartilage. I don't know, but man, there was a lot. And
no, it's not because it has cartilage in it. It's the capillaries. Cartilage, fuck me. He doesn't know the difference between capillaries and cartilage. He doesn't. He does not know the difference between capillaries and cartilage, sorry. That's what it is. Somebody said capillaries. He said cartilage. Because they were talking about the cartilage that got nicked and how hard it'd be to regrow it, any of that shit. And he literally doesn't know the difference between those 2 words.
I said, why does it? He said, let me tell you, before I tell you that, I suggest you go and buy a lottery ticket. The doctor told me that. I'm sitting in the... I said, why? He said, you are the luckiest guy. I've been doing this for 25 years. That I'm even talking to you is a miracle. Or that I'm talking to you is a miracle, right?
Absolutely.
So somewhere, all of us, we had a little help up there. And
oh my God, there's like a little help up there. And by up there, I mean these are the box seats in this church where the rich people sit.
I would
they helped me coordinate this whole thing and fake it.
like to think, and I don't know this at all, but I would like to think that it's because he wants our country and maybe the world to be helped. Wants our country to be helped. God wants our country to be helped. It would be.
Yes, and one of the best things for our country, and we'll leave it there because I had other stuff to cover and I don't want to go completely, just bury it all in it because you get the point. Yes, I believe God wants to help our country. I think it wants to help us heal. And one of the things that it's going to require is for that asshole to be on a hard fade as his entire empire crumbles around him and he's revealed to be the misogynistic, racist, rapist pig that we all know him to be, and his own fan base eventually turns on him and maybe, just maybe, decides to go back to regular conservatism and treat their fellow Americans like human beings and stop being part of a cult. And the only way that happens is if he's not martyred. I have no interest in that asshole dying or prematurely. I have no interest in anybody being, that isn't in the direct action of killing someone to be taken off this earth. Right? And I would rather him be alive and sit through hours and hours and hours of testimony about what a pig he is and how shitty he treats his employees and how much fraud he's been involved in and how many lies he has told to prop up this bullshit house of cards empire that he's managed to be able to skate by on. And I want him to watch every fucking card of it fall one at a time in real time and then go to jail like a normal person for all the shit he's done. And so if I were God, and I very well might be, we don't know. We're trying to check right now. I've got feelers out. And there was a situation where he was going to be martyred. I would go, dink, nope. I wouldn't. Don't worry. I would make sure that something greater would come from the other people who were harmed because I was focusing on one particular thing and shifting. I'm very cautious about shifting the entire timescape of humanity. I can only do one or two things at a time without throwing the entire future out of order. You know what I mean? Because I blink an eye and it's a trillion years. So what do you want me to do? So I would flick that away and I would go, it's a good idea if this man survive so that he cannot be martyred and have his followers fall into a deeper, more violent haze. Right? That would make sense. If there is a hand of God in this, it is not, I want him to continue unmolested. If that was true, he would have acted earlier in the process. He would have, the bullet would have come anywhere near him. The shooter himself would have been taken out early, or the second shooter kind of thing would have happened, and that would be that, right? There's all kinds of things you could do to shift things around, one would think, in the space-time continuum if you didn't, right? If you didn't want that to go that way. But if you were like, I don't know, I think it's kind of important. This is an important lesson. Everybody needs to see this. This is a good opportunity. You know, I'm gonna point of order, Mr. Chairman, slight deviation in the timescape right now. This asshole's been fucking around my timeline for a little while, so I'm gonna let him live, and he's gonna watch as everyone around him learns the lesson of his sinful, disgusting behavior. And eventually, hopefully, people will learn the moral lesson from the comeuppance that he got. Not that it was immediate and that he was freed from it, and everybody's got to go with something. And so we live in this kind of fucking like tornado of morality that, well, you know, sometimes it runs through and kills you, and sometimes it doesn't. It's all a flip of the coin. If there was any greater intelligent hand in this, it would be to make sure everybody got a chance to watch this asshole fall. Now, speaking of watching an asshole fall, Jesus Christ, it's like I feel like I can only get through one of these. We'll get to this one. So let's go to one of the dumber people in Trump world, if I may. Let's go back to here.
I agree. I'm a dope.
And that would be this fella. Now, if you'll recall, the Adjustment Bureau, that right? Is that what that movie's about? I was like up to here with the fucking sort of Men in Black conceptual movies for a while that I didn't watch it. I saw part of it and I switched to something else. The Adjacent Bureau as well. You can flip you over to another timeline. Okay, so yeah, this is the human thumb, Sean Hannity. Needs to stop. Hannity sends a message to Harris on anti-Trump rhetoric. Okay, first of all, you wuss. It's a fucking campaign. Secondly, he's calling her evil and sick and saying they're trying to destroy our country. So shut the fuck up. But let's see what he's taught. What are his cited references?
And tonight, now listen to this. Just 1 in 4 Americans say that the country is headed in the right direction under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
No. Look, if that was true, they wouldn't be dead even, you dumb motherfucker. Half of the other three, 1.5 and 1.5, split on we're going in a bad direction because Trump might get elected and he's a complete fucking scumbag. And the other half are like, Kamala's probably going to be president and Biden's in charge and I don't like it. That's the split. It's not 3-1 against her or it wouldn't be a dead even, you dumb motherfucker.
But Kamala doesn't have a plan to turn the country around. Listen to the
She literally does.
Word salads. Instead, she's serving up a hot, steaming pile of Hitler, Nazi, fascism,
Sorry, that was you're getting her confused with the Madison Square Garden rally, right?
Harrison, and when all else fails, calling Donald Trump a racist. Her and her surrogates are...
Or pointing to his racism, I think, would be more of a case of what actually happened. Yeah.
Are the ones responsible for this final closing argument as we now, are 11 days away.
Listen, Mork, if you could, I understand that you're new to this. You're not very skilled at talking in public, but you're on a real network. So at least, I don't know, bring your C+ game?
From Election Day. Officially, although Election Day is every day, the polls are open. Take a listen.
All right. So his complaint is Election Day is every day because the polls are open. Take a listen. He's so dead inside he knows this is over. Look at his fucking face.
Let me ask you tonight, Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
This guy's tendency.
Real quick, asshole. If you're talking about word salad, I got to tell you, that's one of those fancy salads you get in a really nice restaurant where it's like, oh, it's a carrot stick with like a leaf on it and a drizzle. You know what I mean? That's a Waldorf Astoria kind of a salad, if I do say so my damn self.
Leaning towards dictatorship is un-American.
It is deeply troubling and incredibly dangerous that Donald Trump would invoke Adolf Hitler, the man who is responsible for the deaths of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of Americans.
When you said...
By the way, real quick, Sean Hannity, I'm curious, and this is the reason why this is kind of a montage of shit and why they jump over to the current spokesperson and not her in particular, but because that's why he's trying to spread it out amongst everybody. Do you have a disagreement with any of those points? Do you think does Sean Hannity, so far, if he doesn't disagree with it, if he doesn't say, look, I disavow anybody saying Hitler did anything good. If he doesn't do that, we're just going to assume, if it's okay with you, that he actually supports it. Because he's bringing it up. He's putting it on the air. And if he doesn't criticize that or say he just didn't say it, whatever he's lying, right? Whatever he's saying, if he's just saying she's saying something he did say, that's a lie, I don't buy it. That will usually be the fallback. But if he actually doesn't push back on the idea that it's real, then if he doesn't push back on what was said, he's for it.
You do agree President Biden believes that Donald Trump is a fascist? I mean, yes.
I actually wish they would speak that harshly to the #1 state sponsor of terror and the mullahs in Iran, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Now, of course, Hillary Clinton, she also had to chime in.
Also, why? Why did they even bring up the mullahs in Iran? In all seriousness, none of them are going to like run our fucking government, right? Why don't they? Are you randomly mad that they don't bring up the government of East Timor?
And still bitter about her humiliating loss in 2016, she's now comparing Donald Trump and his supporters to Nazis, all on Kamala's behalf.
You do realize he just put on a big gathering at Madison Square Garden that was supposed to be a recreation of the Nazi gathering there. And at it, a bunch of racist, bigoted shit was said with like no pushback from the campaign during. And then afterwards, like, oh, shit. They kind of gone after Kill Tony a little.
Because of the upcoming Trump rally at Madison.
But they didn't give a shit about what Rudy Giuliani said about 3-year-old Palestinians being too murderous to be allowed in the country as refugees.
Madison Square Garden in New York City. Take a listen.
One other thing that you'll see next week, Caitlin, is Trump actually reenacting the Madison Square Garden rally in 1939. I write about this in my book. President Franklin Roosevelt was appalled that neo-Nazis, fascists in America were lining up to essentially pledge their support for the kind of government that they were seeing in Germany. It may be a leap for some people, and a lot of others may think, I don't want to go there. I don't want to say that. But please, open your eyes to the danger that this man poses to our country.
There is no president in the modern era that has been as good a friend and close an ally to Israel as Donald J. Trump. Many presidents have promised to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Yeah, big fucking deal. Which is, by the way, one of the instigators of October 7th. Sinwar, the now dead guy, yeah, he cited that as one of the reasons why they planned this rope-a-dope, this fake ceasefire with Israel, why they planned October 7th.
Donald Trump got it done.
Also, who gives a shit?
Donald Trump recognized Israel's right to the Golan Heights.
Yet another thing that Sinwar and the Hamas leaders listed as why they felt like now's the time to attack, because doing all these things at once, especially, was, they talk about the boiling frog technique, that if you turn the water up slowly, the frog boils and it doesn't jump out. This frog jumped. They turned the heat up too fast. That's what happened. He just didn't give a shit. He didn't understand that it takes time for people to get used to these things. You can't do all of them at once. If you do, it's considered an act of war, and they start planning that way. And that's exactly what happened.
In the West Bank. And Israel's never had a better friend in the White House.
Yeah, not according to Netanyahu. He said Obama was better because it was more peaceful for them.
Kind of dishonest political rhetoric. It is disgraceful.
Also, by the way, can we just wait. There are a lot of reasons to be supportive of Israel that do not include being good with Jews. And again, the evangelical movement in this country has an Armageddon wing that believes that the Jews, you have to reinstate Israel. You got to restart the Temple on the Mount. You got to get all the Jews back in Israel so that Jesus can come back and judge them all as sinners and kill them all and then rule the world for 1,000 years. And they really do believe this. That fucking woman that we just saw that was, interviewing Trump, her entire congregation is taught that bullshit. And so we love Israel. Yes, because you view it as a fucking zoo. It's a fucking corral. It's where you put all the Jews. You get them back in there, and then you close the gate and set fire. That's what it's for. So the idea that you support the existence of Israel or some sort of lining up of these prophecies that have occurred, and that's supposed to be a positive thing for Jews, is fucking absurd.
It is repulsive, and frankly, it is dangerous. Now, there are many deranged people, unfortunately, in our country.
Yes, and a lot of them are waiting for you to stop talking so they can take down the number for those pre-lubricated catheters. I hear they go in smooth.
That will listen to her words and to Carville's words and to Kamala's words.
Well, that dog won't hunt. People can listen to my words all they want to, but all they're going to hear is a sing-song about how Donald Trump's a fascist dictator, and he knows. The reason I say that is because he knows how Putin's dictate. Listen.
Words and Walz's words, and they hear these words. Are they going to be inspired by them?
They hear these words. Is he code shifting or whatever? Is he putting on a Southern accent? They hear these words.
This is not new. Now take a look at your screen. Democrats, they have been comparing Republicans to Nazis for decades. They compared
fascist or Hitler. Okay, there is a distinct difference, you do understand. But okay, do you think, and by the way, yeah, Gerald Ford, yeah, people lined up in the fucking streets to call him a Nazi. It must have been Gerald Ford putting together, and by the way, I think they referenced him as fascist because he pardoned Nixon, and they thought this was a fascistic activity, not that he was a fascist. But, again, fucking stupid.
Mitt Romney to Hitler, somebody they say they love now. They did.
Oh, yeah? Did they? Really? What was the comparison? What was the comparison? Was it anywhere close to, this motherfucker thinks we should have quick trials, you should be able to shut down news organizations that you don't like, revert to laws in the 1700s, have papers, please laws.
The same thing to John McCain, who they used to love until he ran. They didn't love him, then they loved him again.
That's interesting. Why isn't McCain in the list? Why'd you put Gerald Ford in there, but you didn't put John McCain? You put Mitt Romney in there. Huh.
They did it to George W. Bush. They did it to George H.W. Bush. One Democrat accused Ronald Reagan of trying to replace the Bill of Rights with Mein Kampf. Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon.
With fascist precepts lifted verbatim from Mein Kampf. The American William Clay of Missouri, charged that Reagan was trying to replace the... Okay, hold on, wait. William Clay, AEI, Stephen Hayward, January 24, 2011. Sorry. Reagan reclaimed. This is from the Reagan Library, and is written by this guy, Stephen Hayward. The news that President Obama decided to read the biography of Reagan during his Christmas holiday in Hawaii might be taken as a sign that Reagan's triumph over liberals is complete. Can anyone imagine John F. Kennedy admitting he was reading the biography of Calvin Coolidge, or Jimmy Carter taking lessons from Dwight Eisenhower? This represents a culminating and remarkable turnaround in Reagan's reputation. Blah, blah, blah. While conservatives should pocket these unexpected concessions, they should also note that the admiration of Reagan in the media academic complex is highly qualified, most likely linked to his role in the Cold War, even though the story they get wrong about the domestic politics, blah, blah, blah. At one point, let's see. Time to claim Lincoln is okay, blah, blah, blah. This is like a pissing contest about John Roush offers the most complete case for Reagan as a crypto-liberal pragmatist. In 2009 National Journal, entitled Reagan, Republicans have gotten Reagan all wrong. Roush asserts that Reagan was not a Reaganite. Whatever. This dude is just cherry picking, it seems, from articles all over the place and slapping them together to go, this is nonsense. Well, yeah, if you put them right next to each other, or you miss the context of what's going on. Let's see. We have forgotten, for example, this Tip O'Neill attack on Reagan. The evil is in the White House at the present time, and that evil is a man who has no care, no concern for the working class of America and the future generations of America, who likes to ride a horse. He's cold. He's mean. He's got ice water for blood. That's what Tip O'Neill said about him. Something about Madame Tussauds. Reagan's greatest accomplishment in the Cold War, evil empire. What is the world to think when the greatest powers is led by a man who applies the most difficult human problem, a simplistic theology? Mikhail Gorbachev. They're like, again, City on a Hill sermon. Where is it? I'll find it. Don't worry. The Prairie Fire. Several President Reagan's landslide. Happy 100th birthday. Today the liberals. Da-da-da-da. I'm trying to find the Senator Max Governor worried that the tax revolt had undertones of racism. Vote for latent prejudice. The Washington Haynes Johnson said it was an exhibition of widespread public mean-spiritedness. These are the the Reagan tax cuts. Scrolling. Getting closer and closer to midnight. Morning in America. Trying to find this on standard history. Reagan is painfully fond of the least conservative sentiment conceivable. A statement from the anti-conservative Thomas Paine. We have in our power to begin the world over again. Anytime, any place. That is nonsense. Yeah, because Thomas Paine was like, when he was talking, they had like 2 lines on the Etch-a-Sketch. Once you start doing a really like complex drawing, it gets harder and harder to just shake the fucking thing and start over again. I'm going to try and find this in here. Oh, here we go. Esquire voters who supported Reagan were like good Germans in Hitler's Germany. In The Nation, Alan Wolf wrote, the United States has embarked on a course so deeply reactionary, so negative and mean-spirited, so chauvinistic and self-deceptive that our times may soon rival the McCarthy era. All right, that's not too... yeah, here it is. Okay. With the result being, let's see, Madame Tussauds in London held a vote for the most hated people of all time, with the result being Hitler, Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, and Dracula. Democratic Congressman William Clay of Missouri charged that Reagan was trying to, quote, replace the Bill of Rights with fascist precepts lifted verbatim from Mein Kampf. A desperate Jimmy Carter charged that Reagan was engaging in stirrings of hate in the 1980 campaign, which he absolutely was. Sorry, I'm gonna see if I can grab the context of this thing too. Da-da-da-doo, ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-ba-boom, do-do-do-do-do-do. Don't return to civility. When did they practice it? Bill of Rights, okay, blah, blah, is this quote, and they're reducto, fascist and fascist big. It's in the Nazi card. They all seem to be citing the same thing. The party that cried fascists 23 hours ago. A bunch of people saying this. 50-year history of the worst comparisons. Missouri charged that Reagan was trying to... where, though? Where's the statement? God damn it. Trump is Nazi scum, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the National Review's trying to protect him. The GOP had Mein Kampf political Bible. GOP is what is the rule of Nuremberg? Strategic one. Trump was Hitler on the Hill. Fascist slurs are our old hat. Okay, in the 1980s, this is just vaguely... do you think Trump is a fascist? Yes, I do. Okay, so they're all citing this. Fucking Sean Hannity's not even original in this. No, and nobody has the direct moment that I can see.
Barry Goldwater in 1964, all compared numerous times to Adolf Hitler. And that is only the tip of the iceberg. Everyone from Nikki Haley to Governor Ron DeSantis to Kamala's new friend Dick.
Hold on. And again, I stand by the Dick Cheney stuff. But again, I think Dick Cheney supports her because the tick wants the dog to live.
Cheney have all been compared.
Asshole, why are you running a fucking Star Wars scroll, like a credit scroll of the pictures you just showed?
To Nazis by Democrats. But this time, it's a lot different. Now, two people have already tried.
They managed to get through 3 fucking names?
To assassinate Donald Trump during the...
Yes, 2 registered Republicans. Sorry, 1 registered Republican, 1 independent who voted for Trump.
This election cycle. A Trump supporter was murdered, others were seriously wounded. And yet top Democrats, they are ramping up out of pure panic and a desire for political power their rhetoric, with Kamala calling Trump a fascist, as many of her surrogates are doing the same. Her surrogates...
Yeah, but I think the problem they have is a limitation of the vocabulary for the general public and what he is advocating for. He is a fascist.
Hitler.
He literally wants the Hitler comparison. He wants it. His own wife, his ex-wife, who's buried on his fucking golf course with no headstone, apparently in her divorce proceedings, and that was originally sealed, said he kept a book of Hitler speeches by the bedside, probably to scare the help.
And her supporters, calling him Nazi. Right now, there are delusional people that are out there that are hearing...
Yes. So far, they're all Trump supporters.
These words. We have foreign actors that we know about in this country, including Iranian assassination squads who are targeting Donald Trump,
and Harris and Biden,
his family,
and their families,
targeting his campaign team. They know all of this.
Sorry, I don't know if they're targeting. Why are they targeting his campaign team? I have not seen any evidence of that, and I do not see it coming up anytime soon. But also, maybe they're just, I don't know, maybe they were in a poker game, they lost some money to them or something?
They get security briefings, and they obviously do not care. This insane...
Sorry, is he dead? I mean, I don't understand. They've taken extra precautions since this happened, since 2 Trump supporters tried to kill him.
Never-ending, absolutely dangerous rhetoric. They talk about, Donald Trump's rhetoric. What about their rhetoric?
Well, their rhetoric would dry up instantly if he stopped saying the shit he was saying. Look, you can't... it's like calling somebody a bigot because they quote you saying the N-word. That's what he's doing right here. That's what this is. That's what Sean Hannity is doing right now. You're the one who said the N-word. Yeah, I was quoting you because we're in a court of law and I'm under oath. And they asked me exactly what you said. Yeah, but you're the one that said it. Because I was telling them what you said. I don't know. It sounds like terrible words to me. I know. That's why the sentence before this, when I actually said it, and I said, and I'm quoting, I said, this is a terrible thing. I would never use this word. See that part? This dumb motherfucker. Jesus.
It has the potential to put Donald Trump, his family, his supporters, his campaign staff, everybody around him, their lives at risk. And Kamala,
Yeah, but so does his diet, and you don't give a shit about that. How about his... Dude, his family and his staff has more to fear from his lack of proper airplane maintenance.
Needs to stop, and it needs to stop immediately.
You tell him, Mr. Man. Hold on. It's a John. Tell him, hold on. I'm a John Hannity. Tell him a John Hannity. Tell him... Say no more bad words. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm gonna tell you to. Don't say the bad word. You say bad word because they say bad word doesn't make it not bad word say then.
Okay? That's not good. Don't say it.
And you need to lead the way.
I need to lead the way. I'm this many. I don't know. I'll lead the way. I'm this many.
And you need to stop calling him a fascist.
You need to stop calling him a fascist. He looks pretty slowish to me.
And Hillary Clinton, well, you have no shame, but you should be ashamed of yourself as well as everybody else that is out there using these terms.
That's right. Everybody should be ashamed of themselves. And, you know, yeah, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Repulsive, reckless, dangerous, beyond irresponsible.
Oh, no. I didn't do it. I had to poop and I couldn't make it to the bathroom in time. I put my diaper in the trash like it told me to, but I had trouble opening the lid, so a little bit of poo-poo on it.
Move, Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, or Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, released a joint letter demanding.
Finally, a joint letter. My older brother writes joint letters all the time, and his room smells funny.
That Harris, quote, end the dangerous rhetoric.
That's right. Did they write a similar letter to Donald Trump? Say, don't say the bad things. Say, don't do it. Don't you say bad things? I see people say bad things. So somebody, whoever the bigger person, you don't do it. I'm not going to say bad things. I'm not going to say them.
Letter continues, quote, we call on Vice President Harris to take these threats seriously. Stop.
We are both been briefed on the ongoing and persistent threats to former President Donald Trump by adversaries to the United States, and we call on the Vice President to take these threats. Real quick, is she saying these bad things about him in Farsi or in English? Or did these people just... maybe we should just talk to whoever that translator is.
Escalating the threat environment, help ensure that President Trump has the necessary resources they've been denied many times to be.
Yeah, he needs fresh diapers, and he needs butt powder, and he needs a shower at least twice a day because he's well stinking.
Protected from those threats. But if Kamala needs even more evidence that her vile remarks have crossed the line, well,
that's what we want. We want evidence.
Well, maybe she should listen to an actual survivor of the Holocaust. In this case, a 94-year-old man who was 9 years old when taken by the Nazis, whose parents were murdered under Adolf Hitler in Nazi Germany. Listen.
Why are they so bold? This is, and by the way, listen, political ad.
I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States.
Bless your heart, but I don't think that's true.
What does Kamala Harris have to say for herself? What about her supporters? By the way, weren't they?
I have me on, Sean. I'll tell you. If he stops talking about shutting down the media that he doesn't like and denying them their broadcasting license, or jailing journalists, or using the Alien and Sedition Act, which would allow him to not only kick out illegal aliens but citizens of the country that write bad things, it's a total violation of the First Amendment. And maybe then people would ease up on the fascism throttle. Maybe if he didn't hold a Madison Square Garden rally to recall that Nazi thing and literally have Elon Musk come out wearing a MAGA hat, a Make America Great Again hat, using the same font as Mein Kampf, maybe then the Hitler references would dry the fuck up. Or do you think there's a strategy here? Maybe to goad this shit, right? And go, they're calling us Nazis. It's terrible. We would never do anything like that, while intentionally putting their thumb on the scale of that belief system by adding hints about what they were going to do through Project 2025 or Agenda 47, which is the idiot's version of Project 2025. Maybe then people would find another analogy more appropriate to the circumstance. But right now, this is the best one we got.
Elon Musk was not wearing a hat that had Maoish writing on it or USSR writing on it or fucking spray painted, stencil writing from the 80s. He chose the Germanic font, the typeface that's on the cover of Mein Kampf for a reason, for his dark MAGA hat. And that's why.
He's supposed to be running a joyful campaign. Well, tonight there is good news.
She seems to be smiling there.
All of this. This election, once again, has exposed the radicalism, extremism, the true colors of this modern Democratic Party for all to see. They don't care about democracy. They don't care about the quality of life here in America.
Sorry, do they, so she's not doing the child tax credit? They're not still trying to get rid of student loan debt and even that out? They're not trying to increase the number of houses available to lower the housing price? They're not, pushing the economy to continue to lower, to fix inflation so that the Fed feels comfortable lowering the interest rate? They're not reshoring factories at the highest clip in American history? Like, fuck are you talking about? Like, this is garbage. And you know what? Sorry. Not my business. Not my business. I'm sure he's going to give great examples.
Or maybe they'd be talking about that every day.
They are, asshole. You don't show their shit because you're afraid to. Because if you show one speech of hers, a part of one a day, it will have these plans in it. It's all on her fucking website, just like any other candidate in life. But you're so busy showing Trump rambling about, I gotta zing and I don't like flies and I God luck or something, religion, pastor, minister, and church is good and we had it and we don't have it and we're not gonna have a country anymore and Obama, I'm running against him. Like, if you weren't busy following that shit, maybe you could just watch one of her fucking rallies. One. Maybe you'd see what the actual plan is.
Or even global peace. They want to lecture Israel how to fight the people that are dedicated to their destruction.
No. They're not lecturing them on that. They don't want the regular citizens around those people who are dedicated to their destruction to die or be maimed so that they don't make more people who are dedicated to their destruction. See how that works?
Killed the equivalent of 40,000 Americans in a single day. They only care about power, and they'll shred the so-called norms in any way in a heartbeat.
Also, the equivalent of 40,000 Americans?
As they lecture the rest of the country about civility, like they lecture the country about the dangers of fossil fuels while they themselves are flying around the world in private jets with a massive carbon footprint. Now they're going to toss out millions of primary votes.
Hang on. Wait, fuck you. This is, all right. This is where you're going. You're talking about, like, war and peace and the battle between Israel and Hamas, which is bloody and has a huge civilian death toll on both sides. It has been ongoing. It is a Gordian knot politically. And you're like, what are these people going to lecture us on? Like, they give a shit about climate change while they're flying around in their private jets and all this kind of shit. Okay, first of all, they buy carbon offsets. You know that carbon tax you're against? They willingly pay it themselves. That's what a fucking carbon offset is. When you actively choose to lower your carbon footprint by paying someone else who will use the money you're giving them to invest in greener technology. If they're like, hey, we're getting all our power from solar, you pay them a little bit of that as an offset so they can grow that ability. That's how you do it. That's how John Kerry does it. That's how everybody does it when they fly to the fucking climate thing. They buy carbon offsets. They invest in, specifically, green energy so that it's produced for other people to offset the carbon used in these things. Again, you know what the difference is? Donald Trump says, I want clean air, I want the cleanest water, and he doesn't do carbon offsets at all. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a new fucking plane. He's flying this piece of shit leftover plane from Trump Airlines from 1991. It's it's like a firecracker with wings. And it's you know what it is? You know those snake firecrackers when you can't get real firecrackers? The fireworks you get, they just smoke and it looks like black shit coming out of the end of it. That's what his plane is. Yeah. No, Epstein's plane is the VP plane right now. They're renting that one.
Install a different candidate. Oh, threat to democracy? Really? They're going to get...
She's the vice president. That's what the vice president is actually for. Here's the threat to democracy. You get everybody to vote for a president and a vice president. You sell them on this idea that you're evangelically pious enough that Mike Pence wants to be your running mate. And then you try to get him fucking killed. And the next time you run, you can't use him again because he doesn't want to die. And, oh, by the way, even though you've been out of office for 3.5 years, you also have a fixed primary so that you don't even have to debate the people, and you're not even in office. And you have a different vice president. And you pick them last minute. How many votes did J.D. Vance get?
Get rid of the filibuster, pack the courts. They'll try to throw their chief political rivals in jail. We've watched the weaponization of the DOJ. We watched lawfare unfold. We have covered...
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. The DOJ is going after Trump for shit he did, for one. And some of it he did after he left office. Before he even decided to run. He decided to run because he got a notice that said of a pending indictment. They told his attorneys, hey, guess what? You've got a Secret Service detail, so we got to let you know ahead of time, but there's an indictment coming down and you're going to be charged with these crimes or whatever. And he's like, got to run for president. And he started fucking running 2 years ago.
This now for the last number of years. They will pressure big tech to censor American citizens.
No, they won't. They never did. Unless you want to count what, was it Chrissy Teigen who called Trump a pussy-ass bitch, right? And he wanted her, the White House called Twitter and tried to have that removed. The rest of it was just them sharing stuff. We think this is a fake account. This is a Russian account. These aren't real. This person is reposting stuff from Russian accounts, and this is fake. This is dangerous. They're pretending to be a doctor. You might want to take these down. And half the time Twitter did, and half the time they didn't. That's not censorship. Never was, never will be.
While disseminating their own foreign disinformation
I'm sorry, their own foreign disinformation? What do you mean? I'm sorry, news reports from Puerto Rico?
The state-run media mob will run wild with it.
The state-run media mob will run wild with their foreign propaganda from whom? Who? France? What the fuck are you talking about? Honestly, I'm fairly certain what he means is like climate change information that he doesn't believe.
They'll investigate angry parents at school board meetings.
Uh-oh. You mean the ones that threatened to murder vice principals and librarians who threatened to put bombs and did put bombs under the cars of people that they thought were pushing transgender ideology on their fucking kids or showed up packing? I went to, honest to God, I've been to a lot of like parent-teacher conferences and a decent number of school board meetings to sit in and listen. There was not a fibby in the fucking place.
As possible domestic terrorists while letting members of ISIS and terrorists. We have known terrorists in this country because of the Harris-Biden...
Wait, whoa. We have known terrorists? Where are they? If we know they're terrorists, so you're telling me Customs and Border Patrol, ICE, and local judges in Texas, I guess, know that someone is an ISIS terrorist and they release them into the public. This is what you're telling me. This asshole is saying that on orders from Joe Biden, the Customs and Border Patrol, ICE, and judges that deal with this stuff in Texas and Arizona are intentionally releasing ISIS terrorists into the United States. For real. One. Give me one fucking name. I don't want to even hear like a case number. One fucking name. One. Good Lord.
Vetted open borders we have. And then to top all of this off, Well, they'll just compare their political opponents to evil Nazis and...
Motherfucker, you just said they're releasing ISIS killers into the country willy-nilly. Are you out of your fucking mind? Look at this. Holy shit. Think about what he just fucking said. He just said Kamala Harris is intentionally allowing ISIS terrorists into the country. They know they're here and they're doing nothing about it. What's the difference between that and calling somebody a Nazi? What's the difference? For real. Hair's breadth. Yeah, somebody's like Abdul. Yeah, of course that's his name. Good Lord. So, I'm sorry. They're supposed to walk back their rhetoric of calling him a Nazi because he had a Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden where he had people there who were calling for mass deportations, papers, please laws, where they just round people up and kick them out. And if they don't have proof of citizenship, when they're pulled over or captured, they're kicked out of the country. See you later. You can if you can find somebody with a phone in Juarez, you can call your family and they'll try and spend 5 years getting you back in the fucking country, right? Good luck. I mean, a straight up, like, papers, please law, right? I mean, honestly, a direct parallel. A papers, please law, a deportation squad, and instituting the Alien and Sedition Act, which would involve, by the way, not only kicking out aliens, but people who are not loyal to the cause. That's why parts of it were found to be unconstitutional almost immediately, but they want to go back to the original Federalist doctrine of it, which means they can kick out people like journalists who talk shit, or anybody who writes something that is brings scandal upon a politician at any level. Even if it's true, you could be under the Alien and Sedition Act. You could be kicked out of the country for printing an article about about somebody, about a politician specifically. Even if it's true. Even if it's true. If the vice president was Spiro Agnew and he's engaged in all of his criminality and you write an article about that, they can deport you using that. Kick you out of the country, you lose your citizenship. That's pretty fucking Nazi to me. Is it the part of Nazism where they had Auschwitz? No. It's all the other shit. It's how they took over the country so they could eventually have Auschwitz, which should be concerning. Sean whistles now when he talks. Yes, he does. I think he's got new veneers.
Fascist and call them racist while claiming to be virtuous and kind and accepting.
Right, but not of racists and fascists. Can I just say that being tolerant doesn't mean you have to be tolerant of intolerance, you fucking dipshit. Who thinks that's how language works ever? How come you're not tolerant of me dropping the F-bomb on gay people right to them or beating them up? I mean, it's how I truly am. You're not being tolerant. I thought diversity was our strength, right? That's... fuck you.
America is a divided country, but call...
Yeah, I know. And you get paid $30 million a year to make sure it stays that way.
Calling somebody evil like that, a Nazi.
Hey, fuck you. You just said she's releasing ISIS fighters into the country. To what? What do ISIS fighters do? In general, when people picture what an ISIS killer does, beyond just your standard roadside bomb or blowing themselves up, what do? I'll tell you what they do. They tie people's hands behind their back and they lop their fucking heads off. That's what most people think of when they think of an ISIS fighter. Al-Qaeda, you're going to think about like suicide bombers and taking over planes, shit like that. Yes? ISIS, they behead people in the desert. That's the idea. And this motherfucker saying she's just letting them in. It's not even that they're getting through, that they're getaways, that we suspect they're in. He goes, we know they're here.
Fascist, comparing them to Stalin, Mussolini, Hitler, isn't...
Yeah, because fascism and dictatorship. Yes, he's a would-be, wannabe dictator. He says so himself. Fuck, that's one of the reasons why Bush was compared to it. You know, it'd be a whole lot easier if I was a dictator. Things are a lot easier if you're a dictator, especially if I'm the dictator, right? That was why people went, what the fuck? Why is it an American president joking around about being a dictator. No, fuckwad.
Going to help any American's life in any way, shape, manner, or form.
Again, child tax credit, school lunches, education funding, Pell Grants, expansion of Pell Grants, forgiving student loan debt when you've done. Listen to me, student loan debt. It's terrible. Student loan debt when you're serving the community or the greater good. If you're a nurse, or you're a doctor, or you're a lawyer that works pro bono and stuff, you can work off parts of it or lower the debt because you're contributing to society and you're saving the taxpayer money by doing this. So we can write it off from your debt that you've got. If you do that, I mean, for fuck's sake. This asshole's against school lunches. Okay, let's just start there. She and Walz are both for school lunches. Just make sure that while kids are at school, if they don't have food given to them by their parents, they will have food waiting for them at school during the 8 or 9 hours that they are there. That's pretty simple. I don't know why that wouldn't be part and parcel to it. Right? That seems really fucking logical. I'm not going to not have a kid eat while they're growing, especially during, there are no OMAD kids in fucking middle school. She's for it. I'm for it. You're for it. Most people are for it. It seems logical. Sean Hannity is against school lunches. I swear to God, I'd sit down with this motherfucker for an hour and hear him explain to me for a fucking hour why he's against school lunches. The other thing is, you know what would have helped stop stop potential terrorists coming through the southern border? The fucking border bill.
Their big problem is they cannot run on their failed record. This is...
Yeah, they can. By the way, Sean Hannity is far richer now than he was under Trump. Period. Never mind the fact that Fox makes more money when people are watching it when there's a Democrat in office, and they know this. And they're kind of hoping everybody there is like, please fucking Harris, please win so that we can have something to talk about for the next couple of years instead of just sucking Trump's taint every time he turns around.
This is their big closing argument. Nazi, fascist, racist, sexist, misogynist, homophobe, xenophobe, Islamophobe, transphobe. They want dirty air and water. They want to kill off grandma and grandpa's Social Security and Medicare. Project 2025, democracy in peril.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up who Trump is. But that's not the only thing they're talking about.
You know, sadly for the Harris campaign, this election isn't about making America a better place. It's about them holding on to power.
Sorry, sadly? Wouldn't that be sadly for the American people? Like if they're holding on to power, and by the way, this is a slip. Can we just enjoy this for a second? He fucking knows. Look how mad he is. Look at this. Back up. Listen to how he says this. What's this election about? It's not about making this, this country better again. It's about them holding on to power. What he's saying is he knows they're going to win. And Make America Great Again isn't flying. It's a bunch of bullshit. And he never believed it in the first place. Listen to this.
You know, sadly for the Harris campaign, this election isn't about making America a better place. It's about them holding on to power. Donald Trump's closing argument, they broke it. Donald Trump will fix it. And
why don't you just play a clip of him saying that? But you'll notice it's almost like he reversed that. It should be, if I'm not mistaken, if you're saying what I think he was trying to say, I think he flipped the concepts. Sadly for the Harris campaign, this election isn't about them holding on to power. It's about making America a better place. And so Donald Trump's argument is da-da-da. But he flip-flopped him. I don't know how. I mean, it's in the fucking teleprompter right in front of him. Maybe the teleprompter's too big and they're feeding him too many words at a time. And he's just, what's the phrase? Fucking stupid.
Asking every American, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Hey.
Of course we are. Tens of thousands of people were dying every month. Donald Trump was president and he delayed response to COVID so he could get a Chinese trade deal that they only did a third of when they needed more than that. They literally undercut it on fucking purpose. Are you an alcoholic? Are you drunk? Are you smelling almonds? Of course we're better off than we were 4 years ago, you tit. Again, this goes to kind of the equation that they always put up. It's like this algebraic equation of the past 5 years. And up there on it is a big fucking X. And the X is the damage done by COVID. And whether it's Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity or Jesse Waters or fucking Carol Roth or any of these assholes, they all just want, instead of solving for X and going, oh, yeah, X it blew a $20 trillion hole in our economy. It killed, well over 1 million Americans. It damaged people for life in some cases. It took workers away. It shut down businesses. Some businesses never recovered. Some businesses had to, start from scratch when they start again. So the $20 trillion hole is ginormous. So the idea that we patched it with $9 trillion worth of aid is just fucking dumb. There was no money printer go burr. We printed way too much money, and that's why we've got inflation. It was supply shock 100%. We're pulling ourselves out of China because of slavery, because of national security reasons, and because a lot of the stuff that we were getting from there it takes more than it gives. But instead of solving for that X like I just did and going, okay, therefore the inflation would be X 0.7 or X squared 0.7, and then the secondary part of it would be like reshoring caused by this. We got to shorten supply chains, certain things we need to stop buying from from China. So we're going to buy them from India or Europe for a little while, which is a little more expensive until we can set it up here, which is a 5 to 10 year plan. That's going to cost money. That's going to raise prices for a little while. Not using slave cotton from Xinjiang. That's going to raise every garment you buy at the mall up by about $1 easily. These assholes actually think. Hold on one second. Let me show you something real quick before I sign off. I got to drive to LA tonight because I have to. I'm going to do a hospital visit tomorrow for a friend. So hopefully they're going to be okay. Got some kind of scary news, but fingers crossed. Just saying. So instead of going in early tomorrow for the jam and driving back right after, I'm going in tonight, and I'm going to try and see him in the morning, when they're awake and lively, as it were. So, before I hit the road, yeah. Here's one of the reasons why. Let me try that here. You want to know one of the reasons why we have inflation in this country that isn't monetary inflation at all? Monetary inflation is you got too much money in circulation, so therefore it's worth less, and it won't. It's not worthless. It's worth less, and therefore things cost more because they can only, that rolls downhill. I'm going to need, if $5 is worth, used to get you $5 worth of goods, but now it gets you, $3 worth of goods, then I'm going to need $7 to get my $5 worth so I can sell more of that stuff. So it extrapolates out like that. Okay. When you use slave labor, you artificially depress the cost of something. No, it isn't, Josh. It is not somebody you guys know in particular. It's a person I'm involved with on a production level and that kind of stuff. So I'll keep you guys posted. I don't want to talk about it without their permission. So, but just put that aside for a second. It ain't about me. It definitely is Alien Fields, I love you, but price gouging is not the answer. Because we're not talking about like certain products where they knew they could get away with it for a while. Fucking chicken eggs were run up because of avian flu. The Walmart and Target still have a 2% profit margin. 2%. If anything fails, they lose money. That's why it's such a, that's why they have to deal in such gigantic volume. Okay? Yeah, on the production level, producers, people who work in production. Just, that's all I'm going to say. Because like I said, I don't want to give too much about this person without their permission. So, Alien Fields is saying price gouging. No. It is not price gouging to charge what something costs. Okay? And I'll give you an example. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. It was passed December 23rd of 2021. You'll recall that this is late in the first year of the presidency of Joe Biden. There is nothing about this, nothing at all, that could not have passed in year 2 of the Trump administration or year 3. Now, definitely in year 4, when he was trying to do his Chinese trade deal, it definitely would poke the bear a little bit. Right? Do you understand? And again, shrinkflation, again, these are all statements about, but it doesn't deal with the current underlying details. Why? Where the costs come from. And this is a big part of it, okay? I need people to understand this. Is there price gouging? Of course there is. Can you deal with it on a legal and legislative level? Of course it is. Is it the majority of what went on? No, because COVID. And COVID wasn't just like, oh, they're driving the price up because they've got us all cornered and they can get shit out of us. No, certain elements of everything a business bought to make shit made it more expensive, especially if you couldn't use slave labor anymore. And J.D. Vance likes to drop this shit all the time. Okay? J.D. Vance, okay, hold on, let's see. You're wrong, Hal. If a car costs what it actually costs to make, we'd all be having 10K or less cars. Everyone gouges. No. No. Cars do not cost 10K to produce. The materials in them, the design, the rights to them, the constant modification, the cost of the car is not the cost of the materials involved. It's all the testing that goes into it beforehand and all the extrapolated costs from that, and then the varying degrees of extra stuff that you add on top of it. No. Eventually, will cars be that cheap? You fucking ain't right, they will. We're getting to a point where the automation is so high, it will be very cheap. But again, if you want, one of the reasons why the prices have gone up is because of labor costs. Because we've agreed that people should have a living wage and unions are getting better contracts, and that means the price goes up a little bit. Now, again, stay focused on this because if you talk about 9 different industries, you won't solve any of them because they all do things differently, okay? So listen to me for a second. One of the things that we all deal with all the time on the regular that is not perishable goods, which is foodstuffs, okay? And homes, which there need to be a lot more, which is where the Harris plan to build, what is it, like 30 million homes in the country for the, by the end of the first year of their term, or second year of the term, that kind of stuff, which is great. But Xinjiang cotton specifically, there's a bunch of other stuff, but the cotton grown in Xinjiang and pulled from the ground and harvested by slave laborers. Alien Fields, what about record corporate profits? Again, corporate revenue is not the same thing as corporate profits. And not all corporations are created equal. Okay? You can have a generalized, oh my God, it's so much bigger, but some businesses ran away with it while other industries that you count on for more normal shit are not seeing a spike in this, okay? You can't just go corporate profits are up. I'll give you an example. And this is, if you were saying, consumers are spending a bunch more money. Isn't that a great thing? And then you find out they're spending it on Ozempic, facelifts, tummy tucks, and I don't know, like having their teeth replaced. All right. Is that the same thing as somebody buying a vacation or buying something for their home that makes it more comfortable? No, especially if it's something like Ozempic or facelifts, because it speaks to dysfunction in the society, that it's necessary, right? That you even care about it that much. If that's where people are spending all that fucking money, what you're spending on matters, okay? Botox, right? If they're spending it all on Botox as opposed to their, and ball tanning, as opposed to gym memberships or going buying like kayaks and going or hiking boots. You understand? There's a difference if the money, it's because people vote with their dollar and they prioritize those things. You understand? Okay, that's what I'm trying to, just stay focused with me if you can, because I know there's a lot to this. But this is a good, simple explanation for why we are not having monetary inflation, which is when there is too much money in circulation. We are experiencing supply shock. Okay? Supply shock is when suddenly stuff you could buy easily is harder to get, and therefore the only way you can get it is to pay a higher price for it because there's less of it around. If there's only, if I need 6 apples to make a pie and there's 30 apples, it's not a big deal. But if there's only 8 and I really need them, I will buy them. And anybody else is going to have to pay a higher price even for the leftover 2. Does that make sense? So again, the truth was, instead of inflation of the money supply, we had a collapse of the material supply. Our whole food chain is controlled by 3 entities. No, again, it's not controlled by 3 entities. No, it isn't. It's a misreading of the whole thing. Our supplies come through different ways. It's like saying they all come on a truck. It's meaningless to this conversation. Let me explain this to you. See if you can hold with me for this. Okay. When you buy clothes at H&M or Forever 21 or Target, or especially Walmart, cotton shirt, t-shirt, underwear, standard clothing, jeans, like the cotton used for denim jeans or whatever, right? That stuff. You buy those things. Okay. If you have to pay someone a living wage for the cotton that you make it from, those things are going to, and this, whatever, I don't know, like this is a $6 shirt or something. This $6 shirt would be $10, let's say. This is not how much the shirt costs, but you understand what I'm saying. It's $6. This was 5 years ago. This shirt was $5. Now, because it's not made with slave cotton anymore, it's $8. Has nothing to do with the monetary supply. None whatsoever. Peter, no, I'm not. And in December 23rd of 2021, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act went into effect. And when it went into effect, we were no longer able to import items made with cotton especially, but other items that came from forced labor. So companies had to prove it came from an area where people were paid to do the labor. And people who are paid to do the labor are another cost onto it, okay? Monopolistic greed and greedflation would be they're lying. They're not paying for the cotton. They're buying the slave cotton and hiding it. That would be a violation of the law. But that's how you would do that. That's how you would gouge in this situation, right? Because there's a standard on what you can import and how and where it came from. And the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, among other things, made it so that you cannot use slave cotton in clothing. Okay? That is sold in the United States. Is it sold throughout Africa? Yes. Is it sold throughout the Middle East? Of course it is. Are there Eastern European countries especially that do it? Or Russia? Of course you can. They don't give a rat fuck. But if you want to sell to the American consumer, which is the strongest economy on earth and has gotten ahead and has more money to do it, right? We insist as a country that you not use slave labor. Okay? That is, and that's the law. Now, could it have been the law during Trump? Sure. It could have been the law technically as soon as we found out. If you recall, this became a rolling story in 2017. The story of what was happening to the Uyghurs started growing in 2017. Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, that's where his last fucking name comes from. That's his people, the Turkish Uyghurs. Okay? They are being enslaved and in some cases bred out of existence in China right now and forced to pick cotton that was used to make clothing sold in the United States up until December 23rd of 2021. And if you want to look at one of the many reasons why the price and stuff went up, besides the fact that, oh shit, we can't get stuff from China anymore because we don't trust them and people won't even buy them, right? We have to buy it from India or we have to buy it from Europe, which is more expensive. It is more expensive to have IKEA furniture made in the Czech Republic than it is to make it in China. Agreed? Americans don't give a rat's ass. We are all selfish. Speak for yourself, Billy, because I voted for the president that whose party introduced this bill, and it was passed in a bipartisan fashion. We do care, and we did do something. And that is the law now. That's not, again, the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Bill existed up until December 23rd, 2021. Now, it's the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. It is the law of the land. You get me? Peter says we don't eat cotton. Okay, calm down. No, but again, that goes to migrant labor, under the table migrant labor, because the cost of food goes up when when migrants are not coming in to work. They're coming in because they need asylum, and they're taking other jobs preparing food but not picking it. And during COVID, a lot of people at food processing plants and places like that might use under the table migrant labor lost all of them because a bunch of them died and nobody reported it. Food reflation is a fact. Again, to what extent? Eggs had, for example, eggs had nothing to do with greedflation. Is there greedflation in stuff? Of course there is. They will raise the price till the breaking point of the regular consumer, and until somebody comes in with a cheaper or better product that you will pay less for. Right? But eggs, the price of eggs didn't go up because of greed. The price of eggs went up because of avian flu and people dying of COVID in the processing plants at the same time. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's not that, rent doubling is another thing entirely. Yes, rent doubling, that would be the gouging part. But that, again, has to do with a myriad of issues, and that's a supply problem. And the answer to it is to increase supply. The problem you have is that most of the federal government, what they can do is they can help people get funding to build houses, but the zoning is done by the cities. And the cities have a vested interest in making people want their houses to be worth a lot. So if there are fewer houses, the market is stronger, because if you cannot get, if there are, 9 families and 8 houses, houses cost more than if there are 9 houses and 6 families. So in the rural areas, houses are cheaper, and in cities, they're more expensive. And there's a reason for why, like city halls and councils make sure that the supply of homes stays artificially depressed, because that means the value of the house is higher, and so you get higher value renters and buyers in. It's not even as simple as selfish. Again, the problem with it is dealing with it in a very complex situation in an uncomplex way. Yes, that's what enables them to gouge. Jarv Mane says, I don't know if you're still talking about food or you're talking about the housing, but in terms of, let's say, eggs, what happens is restaurants need eggs. You might want eggs and you might like eggs, but restaurants need eggs. It's on their menu, and if they don't have something on their menu, people won't show up and that kind of stuff. So when eggs started coming back on the market, it was restaurants that bought them all up. And so stores couldn't get them because the buyer in front of them that was buying, big, massive amounts of them, beat groceries, was restaurants, because people started going back to restaurants again. Again, this is what happens when nobody solves for the X that is COVID. I'm sorry, Leslie, I don't mean to bore you. I'm arguing that these street drugs are down at least. Well, that's because they're dangerous and they will kill you. Things also get more expensive the safer they are. Yeah, food's a lot cheaper in China, but you can die from it a lot easier as well. See how that works? All right. Love you guys. I'm going to go, and there's a bunch of other people to watch. You can watch Liberal Dan and Dan, and listen to me, Liberal Dan. Liberal Dan and the Major is going to be on in a minute as well. Choose your fighter and enjoy. How is America so behind? We're not. We're way ahead. We just got to be better at distributing the functionality of our market instead of letting it get pooled in these areas. And that's another issue about the billionaires, which is why the tax, the unrealized gains or some of those other things on people with a net worth over $100 million makes sense. So there you go. All right. Love you guys. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And understand that if you're complaining about the cost of shirts at Kohl's being up a couple of bucks, it's because the cotton is no longer being picked by children that are being systematically eradicated by the Chinese government. They used to be. They're not anymore. You get me?